Hey there, welcome in. Go ahead and get comfortable because you found your way to the softest corner of the internet tonight. And honestly, I'm really glad you're here. There's no rush now, no place you need to be, nothing you have to figure out or fix or finish. It's just you and this quiet little space and the slow drift of the night settling in all around you. Take a moment, if you'd like, to sink a little deeper into wherever you're lying. Maybe that's a bed piled with soft blankets. Maybe it's a couch that knows the exact shape of you by now. Wherever you are, let your body get just a touch heavier. Let your shoulders come down from wherever they've been hiding all day, up around your ears. And let the day itself, whatever it held, start to loosen its grip. You don't have to carry any of it into tonight. You can just set it down, right here, and leave it at the door. Tonight, we're going to take a gentle, unhurried journey, not across town, not across the country, but across something so much bigger than all of that. We're going to drift out past the clouds, past the moon, past the little blue edge of everything we know, and float quietly through the planets. Our solar system, that strange, beautiful, spinning family of worlds we've been part of this whole time, whether we ever stop to think about it or not. And here's the lovely thing about the planets. They're the most relaxing subject I can think of. They're enormous and slow and impossibly patient. They've been turning in their long, looping circles for billions of years, and they'll keep right on turning long after tonight, long after this week, long after all the little worries that feel so loud right now have quietly faded away. There's something so soothing about that, isn't there? The sheer, calm bigness of it all. It makes everything down here feel softer, smaller, easier to let go of. So that's what we'll do together. I'll share some gentle, cozy facts about these distant worlds, and you don't have to remember a single one of them. You really don't. This isn't a lesson. There's no test in the morning. My voice is just here to give your busy mind something soft and simple to rest on, like a smooth stone to hold, while the rest of you slowly, gently drifts off to sleep. If you fall asleep before I even get to the good part, well, that means it worked. That's the whole point. That's exactly what I'm hoping for. Now, before we float off into the dark together, let me just say one quick, quiet thing. If these calm little journeys help you find your way to sleep, it would mean the world to me if you tap that like button and maybe subscribe, so we can keep meeting here in the quiet like this, night after night. That's all. No big speech. I just love knowing that somewhere out there, in a dark room a lot like yours, someone else is drifting off too. Because that's really what this whole little channel is about. Helping the world get a bit more rest, one sleepy soul at a time. That's it. That's the promise. And now that that's out of the way, we never have to think about it again tonight. We can just sink in. All right. Let's begin, softly. Let's start close to home, with the star at the center of it all, the sun. Now, we don't usually think of the sun as part of our bedtime story, because it's the bright thing, the loud thing, the thing that wakes us up in the morning through the crack in the curtains. But tonight, let's think of it differently. Let's think of the sun as the warm, steady heart that everything else quietly circles around. It's so enormous that it makes up more than 99% of all the mass in our entire solar system. Everything else, every planet, every moon, every drifting speck of rock and ice, all of it together is just the tiniest sliver of what's left over. The sun is really the whole show. Everything else is just gathered around its warmth, like people around a fire on a cold night. And it's so large that if you wanted to fill it up, you'd need about 1,300,000 Earths to do it. Just imagine that for a moment, but gently, softly, a million little Earths, all poured inside one glowing sphere. It's almost impossible for the mind to hold, and that's okay. You don't have to hold it. Just let it wash over you, like warmth on your face on the first mild day of spring. The light from the sun takes a little over 8 minutes to reach us. 8 minutes and about 20 seconds, drifting quietly across the emptiness, which means that every time you feel sunlight on your skin, you're actually feeling something that left the sun 8 minutes ago. It's a little bit like starlight from far away. You're always seeing the past, gently arriving. There's something so peaceful about that thought, that even the light we live by is patient. It takes its time. It's in no hurry to get here, and neither are we tonight. Now let's drift a little closer to that warmth, to the very first planet, the one nearest the sun, Mercury. It's the smallest of all the planets, a little gray world not too much bigger than our own moon. And it's a place of the softest, strangest quiet you could imagine. Mercury has almost no atmosphere at all, which means there's no wind there, no weather, no sound. If you could stand on its surface, the silence would be complete, total, and unbroken. Just still, gray ground stretching out under a black sky scattered with stars, even in the middle of the day. And here's something gently surprising about little Mercury. Even though it sits closest to the sun, it isn't the hottest planet. Not quite. Because it has no thick blanket of air to hold on to its heat, the warmth just slips away into space the moment the sun goes down. So while its sunlit side can grow blisteringly hot, its night side turns bitterly, deeply cold. It's a world of extremes. And yet, from a distance, it just floats there so calmly, so quietly, making its patient loops around the sun, minding its own business the way it has for billions of years. A day on Mercury is a strange and dreamy thing too. Because of the slow, careful way it turns while it travels, a single day on Mercury, from one sunrise to the next, lasts about 176 of our Earth days. Just imagine that. A morning that takes months to arrive. A sunset you could watch for weeks. Everything there moves at a pace so slow and so gentle that it makes our own busy days feel like they're spinning far too fast. But not tonight. Tonight, you get to move at Mercury's pace. Slow, unhurried, drifting. Let's float onward now, a little farther out, to the second planet, Venus. And Venus is a world wrapped in mystery and soft, golden cloud. From far away, it's one of the brightest, loveliest things in our night sky. You've almost certainly seen it yourself, even if you didn't know what you were looking at. That brilliant, steady point of light that shows up just after sunset or just before dawn, so bright that people have sometimes mistaken it for a lamp or a plane or something out of a dream. That's Venus. People used to call it the morning star and the evening star, before they realized it was the very same beautiful world, showing up at both ends of the day. Venus is often called Earth's twin because the two are so close in size. almost the same width, almost the same weight. If you line them up side by side, they'd look like sisters. But once you get past that, the two worlds could hardly be more different. Venus is wrapped in a thick, heavy blanket of clouds. Clouds so dense that they trap the sun's heat and never let it go. It makes Venus the hottest planet of them all, hotter even than Mercury, hot enough to be a rather unwelcoming place. But from a distance, from here, from the safe, cozy dark of your own bed, it's simply a soft, glowing pearl, turning slowly in the golden light. And Venus does something wonderfully odd. It spins backwards compared to almost every other planet. And it spins so incredibly slowly that a single day on Venus lasts longer than its entire year. Let that gentle, sleepy thought turn over in your mind for a moment. A day longer than a year. On Venus, if you could somehow stand and watch, the sun would rise in the west and set in the east, drifting across the sky so slowly you'd hardly notice it move at all. Everything about Venus is slow and dreamy and a little bit backwards, like the logic of the softest dreams, the ones you can't quite explain in the morning. And then, of course, there's home. The third little world out from the sun, our Earth, this pale blue marble spinning quietly in the dark, carrying every person who has ever lived, every song ever sung, every quiet night, just like this one. From out in space, the astronauts who've been lucky enough to see it always say the same thing, that it's smaller than you'd expect and more beautiful than words can hold. A soft blue and white swirl of ocean and cloud, glowing gently against the endless black. No borders, no noise, just one calm, shining home, turning slowly through the night. And it's the only world we know of, out of all the countless worlds out there, where you can do the simple, wonderful thing you're doing right now. Lying safe and warm and comfortable, breathing easy air, wrapped in blankets, drifting towards sleep. Our Earth is just the right distance from the sun. Not too hot, not too cold. Warm enough for gentle rain, cool enough for soft snow, comfortable enough for water to pool in oceans and rivers and lakes. Scientists sometimes call this the just right zone, and I think that's such a lovely way to put it. Our whole world sits in the just right place, and tonight, so do you. Even the way our Earth tilts is gentle and kind. It leans over ever so slightly as it travels around the sun. And that little lean is the reason we have seasons at all. The slow slide from summer into autumn, the quiet hush of winter, the soft green return of spring. It all comes from that tiny tilt, holding steady year after year, giving us the comforting rhythm of the world turning through its moods. There's such peace in that rhythm when you stop to feel it. The seasons always come. The mornings always return. And every single night, without fail, the dark comes around again, soft and reliable, inviting the whole world to rest. And speaking of the dark, let's not forget our own dear moon. Keeping its faithful watch up there, our moon is the gentlest companion, circling our Earth over and over, the same familiar face turned toward us every single night. Did you know that? The moon always shows us the same side. It turns just once for every time it circles us, so patiently, so perfectly, that we've only ever seen one of its faces from down here. The far side, the hidden side, stays quietly turned away, a soft secret it keeps to itself. There's something so tender about that. This one loyal friend, always looking back at us, always there in the dark, glowing softly whether we remember to look up or not. The moon is also the reason for the slow breathing of the tides. Its gentle pull tugs ever so lightly on our oceans, drawing them up and letting them fall, up and down, in and out. A slow rhythm that's been rocking the shorelines of the world since long before any of us were here. In and out, just like your own breath, right now, if you let it slow. The whole ocean, breathing along with the moon, and you, breathing along with the whole quiet world. So that's where we'll begin our little journey tonight, drifting through these first few worlds, the ones closest to the warm heart of the sun. And there's so much more waiting out there in the dark for us. The great striped giants, the rings of ice and dust, the distant, frozen little worlds at the far, quiet edge of everything, where the sunlight grows thin and soft and blue. We'll drift out to all of it, slowly, gently, with nowhere to be and nothing to rush toward. You don't have to stay awake for any of it. In fact, I rather hope you don't. For now, just let yourself float here, in this cozy space between the everyday world and the great wide starry dark. Let your breathing settle into something slow and easy. Let the weight of your body melt down into the softness beneath you, and let my voice carry you quietly out among the planets while the rest of the world sleeps on without you. There's nothing to do now, nowhere to go. Just this. Just rest. Just the slow, patient turning of all those distant worlds. And you, drifting gently among them, one sleepy soul, finding your way to sleep. So stay with me a while longer as we float onward into the dark together. Now let's drift a little further out from the sun, past our own warm world, to the next planet waiting quietly in the dark. This one has a soft, rusty glow to it, a gentle reddish color that people have noticed since the very beginning, since long before anyone knew what it really was. This is Mars, the little red world, and it's one of the calmest neighbors we have. The reason Mars looks red is really rather lovely when you think about it. The whole surface is covered in a fine dust, and that dust is full of iron, the same stuff that rusts on an old gate or an old bicycle left out in the rain. So in a way, the entire planet has very slowly, very gently rusted over, across billions of quiet years, until it turned that soft, warm, sleepy shade of red. A whole world the color of autumn leaves, drifting silently through space. Isn't that a peaceful thought? An entire planet, painted in the colors of a late afternoon. And here's something that might surprise you in the gentlest way. A day on Mars is almost exactly as long as a day here at home. When Mars turns all the way around, from one sunrise to the next, it takes just a little over 24 hours. Only about 40 minutes longer than ours. So if you ever found yourself resting on that faraway red world, your days and your nights would feel almost familiar. The mornings would come, the evenings would fall, at nearly the same slow pace you already know. There's something comforting in that, isn't there? Even out there, so impossibly far away, the rhythm of rest still holds. Mars has seasons too, just like we do, because it leans over on a tilt very much like our own. So the little red world moves through its own quiet year, its own soft spring, its own long winter. And in that winter, something beautiful happens. The frost gathers at the poles of Mars, gentle caps of ice, and some of that ice isn't even water. It's frozen carbon dioxide, what we'd call dry ice down here. And when the warmer season finally comes around again, that frost quietly turns straight back into a whisper of gas and drifts away, without ever melting into a puddle at all. A soft white blanket appearing and disappearing at the top and bottom of the world, breathing in and out with the passing seasons. And on this small, still planet stands the tallest mountain in the entire family of worlds we know. It's called Olympus Mons, and it's a volcano, but a long, long sleeping one, quiet now for ages beyond counting. It rises up so high that it's nearly 3 times the height of the tallest mountain here on Earth. And yet, if you were somehow standing at its base, you might not even realize you were near a mountain at all, because its slopes are so wide and so gentle that they rise up ever so slowly, spreading out across an area about the size of a whole country. Imagine that, a mountain so vast and so soft in its climbing that walking up it would feel like strolling across the gentlest of hills. There's no rush to the top. There never was. It just sits there in the thin pink light, patient and enormous and utterly still. Mars has 2 little moons as well, 2 tiny companions keeping it company out there. Their names are Phobos and Deimos, and they're nothing like our own big round moon. They're small and lumpy, more like 2 little potatoes tumbling slowly through the dark. So small, you could almost imagine holding one in your cupped hands. The larger of the 2, Phobos, circles Mars so closely and so quickly that from the surface, it would rise and set a few times in a single day, drifting across the sky far faster than our own moon ever does. 2 small, quiet stones, endlessly turning around their little red world, faithful in their own strange way. Even Mars, so far from everything, isn't entirely alone out there in the cold. And now, let's leave the little worlds behind, the small rocky ones close to the sun, and drift outward into the truly vast and open spaces beyond. Because now we come to the giants. The enormous, gentle striped giants of the outer dark. And the first of these, the biggest of them all, is Jupiter. Jupiter is so large that it's honestly hard to hold in your mind. So let's take it slowly. If our Earth were the size of a small grape, then Jupiter would be about the size of a big beach ball. You could pour more than 1,000 Earths inside of Jupiter and still have room left over. It is, by far, the largest planet in our whole family of worlds, so heavy and so grand that it holds more than twice as much stuff inside it as every other planet combined. And yet, for all its size, there's something soft about it. Because Jupiter isn't a hard world you could ever stand upon. It's made almost entirely of gas, a great swirling ball of it, so that the deeper you tried to go, the thicker and thicker the air would grow around you, until it slowly, gently hugged you into its heart. A whole planet with no solid ground at all, just endless drifting cloud. And oh, those clouds. If you've ever seen a picture of Jupiter, you'll know it's wrapped in the most beautiful bands, soft stripes of cream and gold, and pale orange and gentle brown, wound all the way around the planet like ribbons. Those stripes are enormous belts of cloud, some drifting one way and some drifting the other, sliding endlessly past each other in slow, silent rivers of color. It's a bit like looking at the surface of a cup of coffee just after you've stirred in the cream, before it all settles. Great lazy swirls, turning and folding, around and around, forever. You could watch it for 1,000 years, and it would never once stop moving, and never once be in a hurry. And somewhere in all those swirling clouds sits the most famous feature of Jupiter, a great soft spot of deeper color known as the Great Red Spot. Now, this spot is actually a storm, but don't let that word trouble you tonight, because this is a storm unlike anything we know. It's a storm so wide that our entire Earth could sink right down into it and vanish. And it's been quietly spinning there for hundreds of years, at the very least. People saw it through their little telescopes centuries ago, and it was already old even then. Just imagine that. A gentle, rusty swirl of cloud turning slowly in the same corner of that giant planet, longer than anyone can remember, older than every story we've ever told. There's something almost soothing about a storm that patient, that unhurried, drifting in slow circles for lifetime after lifetime. Jupiter has a whole crowd of moons too, dozens upon dozens of them, more than we can easily keep track of. But 4 of them are large and lovely, and they've been known for a very long time. The first person to see them was a man named Galileo, peering up through a very simple telescope more than 400 years ago. And he watched these 4 little points of light drift back and forth beside Jupiter, night after night, until he realized they were tiny worlds, circling that giant planet, just as our moon circles us. Can you imagine that quiet moment? One person, in the dark, discovering that we were not the only world with moons of our own. One of those 4 moons is called Io, and it's a strange, restless little place, covered in gentle volcanoes. Another is Europa, and this one is truly wondrous, because beneath its smooth, cracked shell of ice, scientists believe there's a whole ocean of liquid water, a hidden sea, dark and deep and quiet, wrapped in ice and turning slowly around Jupiter. A secret ocean, way out there in the cold, that no eye has ever seen. Then there's Ganymede, which is the largest moon in our entire family of worlds, so big it's actually larger than the planet Mercury. And finally, Callisto, an old and cratered world, its face gently marked by everything that's ever drifted past it. 4 little worlds, each one different, each one turning faithfully around their great striped giant, keeping it company in the long, long dark. And here's a soft and curious thing about Jupiter. Even though it's so enormous, it spins around faster than any other planet we have. A whole day on Jupiter, one full turn, takes only about 10 hours. Just think of that. This colossal world, 1,000 Earths wide, whirling around so quickly that the sun would rise and set on it twice in the time it takes us to sleep a single night. It spins so fast, in fact, that it's not perfectly round at all. It bulges out ever so slightly around its middle, just a touch, like a soft ball being gently squeezed. A giant, turning so quickly and so smoothly that it shaped itself into a gentle curve over all the long ages of its life. But even a giant like Jupiter isn't the most beautiful world waiting out there in the dark, because a little further along, a little further out into the deep and quiet cold, there's a planet so lovely that people have gasped at the sight of it for as long as we've had the tools to see it clearly. This is Saturn, the ringed one, the crown jewel of the whole night sky. Everyone knows Saturn by its rings, and with good reason, because there's truly nothing else quite like it. Those rings spread out around the planet in a great, wide, shimmering circle, so thin and so delicate that they look for all the world like they were painted on. And here's the gentle secret of them. They aren't solid at all. They're made of countless billions of pieces of ice and rock, some as tiny as a grain of sugar, some as big as a house, all of them tumbling slowly around Saturn, side by side, in a vast and glittering ring. Just picture that softly. Billions upon billions of little snowballs and pebbles drifting together in an enormous, sparkling circle, catching the faint, far sunlight and glowing with it. A halo of ice, endlessly turning around that pale golden world. And though those rings look so grand, they're actually astonishingly thin. If you could somehow shrink Saturn down to the size of a beach ball, its rings would be far thinner than a sheet of paper. All that width spread across a distance you could scarcely imagine, and yet so very, very delicate. It's one of the gentlest, most fragile-looking things in all of space. This wide, whisper-thin halo of ice, hanging quietly around its planet, patient and beautiful and calm. Saturn itself is a giant too, the second largest of all our worlds. And like Jupiter, it's made almost entirely of soft, swirling gas. It has its own bands of cloud, though softer and paler, in the most gentle shades of butter and honey and cream. And here's a fact that always makes people smile in a sleepy sort of way. Saturn is so light for its size, so full of gas, and so little solid, that if you could somehow find an ocean big enough to hold it, Saturn would actually float. This whole enormous planet, this second largest world we know, is lighter than water itself. Just imagine that great golden globe, bobbing gently on some impossible sea, drifting along as light as a cork. There's something so tender and so funny about that, the biggest of things being one of the lightest. And around Saturn drift dozens of moons of its own, more than 80 of them that we've counted so far. The grandest one is called Titan, and it's a truly remarkable little world, larger even than the planet Mercury, and wrapped in a thick golden haze of its own, so that you can't even see its surface from above. But beneath that hazy veil, Titan has something no other moon has. It has weather. It has clouds and rain and rivers and great smooth lakes. Only the rain there isn't water. It's far too cold for that. Instead, it rains a kind of gentle liquid gas, filling up rivers and lakes and seas that ripple slowly under that soft orange sky. A whole world with its own quiet rainfall, its own shorelines, its own slow and misty weather, drifting way out there in the cold and the dark, so far from the warmth of the sun. So there they are, our two great gentle giants, Jupiter and Saturn, turning slowly through the outer dark, wrapped in their swirling clouds and their halos of ice, each one trailing a whole little family of moons behind them. And still, there's further to drift yet, further out into the deep and the cold and the quiet, where the sunlight grows thin and faint and turns the softest shade of blue. We'll wander out there soon enough, you and I, out to those last few distant worlds at the very edge of everything. But there's no rush at all. There never is, out here among the planets. So just keep drifting, softly, slowly, wherever this gentle voice may carry you, deeper and deeper into the quiet, deeper and deeper towards sleep. So let's drift on now, softly, out past Saturn and its whisper-thin rings, out into the deeper dark, where the sunlight thins to almost nothing at all. It's colder out here and quieter, and everything moves so slowly, so gently, that you could almost fall asleep just watching it turn. And that's exactly what we're doing, you and I, just floating along, letting the next little world come to us in its own good time. And here it comes now, the seventh planet out from the sun, a soft, pale, blue-green world called Uranus. It's a beautiful color, really, like the very palest sea glass, or a robin's egg held up to a gentle light. That lovely tint comes from a wisp of gas high in its clouds, a gas that quietly soaks up the red light and lets the blue and green shine back out at us. So the whole planet glows in this cool, calm, watery shade, drifting all alone out there in the dark, like a smooth, round stone worn soft by the sea. Now here's the gentlest, strangest thing about Uranus. And it's the sort of fact that feels almost made up. It's so odd and so lovely. Every other planet spins more or less upright, turning like a top as it circles the sun. But not this one. Uranus lies right over on its side, tipped all the way over, rolling around the sun like a great ball rolling slowly along the ground. Nobody knows for certain how it came to lie down like that. But the gentlest guess is that long, long ago, in the earliest days of everything, something very large drifted into it and knocked it gently onto its side. And it simply never got up again. And so it rolls along its long, slow path, lying down, as though it grew tired of standing upright ages ago and decided to rest instead. And because it lies on its side like that, the seasons on Uranus are the strangest and slowest of any world we know. It takes this planet 84 of our years to travel just once around the sun. 84 whole years for a single lap. So each of its seasons stretches on for more than 20 years at a time. Imagine that, more than 20 years of gentle summer, with one pole tipped toward the faint far sun, bathed in a long, dim, endless day. And then, ever so slowly, more than 20 years of soft winter darkness, that same pole turned away into the cold and the quiet. A whole human childhood could pass in a single Uranian season, and still it would not be over. Everything out here happens so slowly, so patiently. There's no hurry at all, none whatsoever, in these distant, drifting places. Uranus has its own quiet family of moons too, 27 of them that we found so far, and they carry the loveliest names, borrowed not from the old myths like most other moons, but from gentle old plays and poems. There's Titania and Oberon, Ariel and Miranda, soft names for soft, icy little worlds, all circling their tipped-over planet in the dark. And Uranus has rings as well, though they're nothing like Saturn's bright and shining halo. These are thin and dark and faint, narrow little bands of dusky material, so dim you'd hardly know they were there at all. Quiet rings around a quiet, sideways world, turning slowly in the cold. And now we drift on again, further still, out to the very last of the great planets, the eighth and final world on our long, slow journey outward. Its name is Neptune, and oh, it's a beauty. If Uranus is the palest sea glass, then Neptune is the deep, rich blue of the ocean far from shore. That gorgeous, endless, midnight blue you could sink right down into. It's the farthest true planet from the sun, so far away that the sunlight reaching it is dim and thin and cold. And yet it glows with this deep and lovely color all the same, like a single blue lantern hung at the very edge of everything. Neptune is so far out, so terribly far, that it's almost impossible to picture the distance. From here on Earth, the sun is warm and bright and close. But all the way out at Neptune, the sun is just one more star among the many. a small, bright point in a black sky. No warmer to look at than a distant street lamp on a winter night. Out there, our whole warm daytime would look like nothing more than a soft, silvery dusk. And it's so far away that Neptune takes an astonishing amount of time to make its way just once around the sun. Nearly 165 of our years for a single orbit. That means that since the day it was first discovered, back in the year 1846, Neptune has only just completed one full trip around the sun in all that time. One single lap across more than a century and a half. Just think how slow and how patient that is. How gentle. A whole planet taking longer to circle the sun once than nations last, then languages shift, then all our lifetimes stacked one upon another. And though it looks so calm and so still from far away, Neptune is actually home to the fastest winds anywhere in the whole solar system. Great soft gusts of wind go racing around it, faster than anything we could ever dream of down here. And yet, from a distance, none of that hurry shows at all. From out here where we're drifting, Neptune just looks serene, a smooth and glowing ball of the deepest blue, calm and quiet and endlessly patient, holding all its rushing weather softly inside itself where no one can hear it. Neptune has moons of its own too, and the largest of them is a curious little world called Triton. And Triton does something that almost no large moon anywhere else does. It circles its planet backwards, going the opposite way to Neptune's own slow spin. That gentle little detail tells us something rather sweet. That Triton probably wasn't born alongside Neptune at all, but was a wanderer once, a lonely drifting world of ice that came too close one day, long ago, and was caught softly and forever in Neptune's gravity, and has been keeping it company ever since. And Triton is one of the coldest places we know of anywhere. Its surface a smooth and frozen pink and pale, so cold it's very nearly as cold as anything can be. And yet even there, even in all that stillness and cold, there are gentle little geysers, soft plumes drifting quietly up from the frozen ground, the faint slow breathing of a world at the very edge of the dark. So that's all 8 of them now, all our great and gentle planets, from little Mercury basking close to the sun, all the way out to deep blue Neptune drifting in the far cold dark. But the solar system doesn't simply stop there, at the edge of the last planet. Oh no, it keeps going, softer and dimmer and quieter still, out into a vast and shadowy region that hardly anyone ever thinks about. And that's where we'll wander now, ever so gently, out past Neptune into the twilight beyond. Because out there, past all the planets, there's a wide and lonely ring of icy little worlds, drifting slowly through the cold. We call it the Kuiper Belt, and it's a bit like a second, far more distant cousin of that asteroid belt we passed by earlier, only made of ice instead of rock, and spread across a space so vast it beggars belief. Out there drift countless frozen little worlds, tumbling along their slow and patient paths, so far from the sun that a single year for them can last hundreds of our own. It's a quiet, dim, and peaceful place, this outer ring, seldom disturbed, seldom visited, just softly turning in the dark, the way it has for billions of years. And the most famous little resident of all that faraway region is one you'll surely know by name. It's Pluto. For a long, long time, we counted Pluto as the 9th planet, the smallest and the farthest of them all. and a great many of us grew up learning it just that way. These days, the astronomers have given it a gentler title. They call it a dwarf planet now, one of the largest of all those icy worlds drifting out in the Kuiper Belt. But whatever we choose to call it, Pluto is a lovely and a fascinating little place, and far more interesting than anyone ever expected it to be. For most of the time we've known about it, Pluto was just a faint and fuzzy speck, too small and far away to see as anything more than a tiny smudge of light. But then, not so very long ago, we sent a little spacecraft all the way out to visit it, a journey that took nearly 10 years of quiet travel through the dark. And when at last it arrived and sent its pictures home, we saw something that took everyone's breath away. Because there, right across the face of that distant frozen world, was a great, soft, pale marking shaped almost exactly like a heart. A vast, smooth plain of frozen ice, gently glowing, curved into the shape of a heart, sitting right there on the surface of the farthest little world we'd ever been to see. Just imagine that, drifting all that way through all that cold and dark, and finding a heart waiting for you at the end of it. There's something so tender about that, so quietly moving, that I never quite get tired of thinking about it. And Pluto has its own companions too, 5 little moons of its own, and the largest of them is called Charon. Now Charon is so big compared to Pluto and so close to it that the two of them almost seem more like a pair of dancers than a planet and its moon. They swing around each other slowly, forever facing one another, each one always showing the very same side to the other, like two friends holding hands and turning gently in a circle, out there in the quiet at the edge of everything, spinning softly together in the dark. They've been dancing that same slow dance for billions of years, and they'll go on dancing it for billions more, long after everything else is done. And here's a thought so gentle, it's almost like a lullaby all on its own. Out there where Pluto drifts, the sun is so far away that if you stood upon its frozen surface and looked up, you wouldn't see a warm, bright sun at all. You'd see something more like a very brilliant star, a single sharp point of light, far brighter than anything else in that dark sky, but small and cold and distant all the same. The daylight out on Pluto, even at its brightest, is dimmer than the soft glow of dusk here at home. That gentle half-light just after the sun goes down, a permanent, peaceful twilight all across that faraway little world, never quite day and never quite night, just an endless, quiet, glowing dim, hour after hour, year after year, out there in the deep and patient cold. And beyond even Pluto, beyond the whole wide Kuiper Belt, the astronomers believe there's something else, something so vast and so faint we've never even seen it directly. They call it the Oort cloud, and it's thought to be a great, soft, spherical shell of icy little worlds, wrapped all the way around our entire solar system like the gentlest of blankets, so enormous and so far away that it might reach nearly halfway to the very next star. Just imagine that, a great round veil of quiet ice, holding our whole sun and all its planets safe and cozy in the middle, drifting out there in the dark. That's where the comets are thought to come from, those graceful little visitors that swing in now and then trailing their soft, bright tails. Every one of them, most likely, a wanderer from that far and shadowy shell, falling gently inward toward the sun, after ages upon ages of drifting alone in the cold. So there's our whole family, then all of it, laid out softly across the dark. The warm, bright sun in the middle, and the little rocky worlds gathered close around it, and the great gentle giants further out with their rings and their crowds of moons. And then the icy drifting belt beyond, and Pluto with its heart and its slow dancing moon, and out past all of it, that vast soft cloud of ice wrapped around everything, like a blanket tucked in gently at the edges. It's such a peaceful thing to picture, all of it turning slowly together, held in place by nothing more than the quiet, patient pull of gravity, drifting through the dark the way it always has, the way it always will. And you're a part of all this, you know? That's the loveliest thought of all. You're not separate from it, out there looking in. You're right here in the middle of it, on that small blue world, spinning gently along with everything else, carried softly around the sun without ever having to lift a finger. Right now, as you lie there warm and comfortable and beginning to grow sleepy, you're traveling through space at a truly astonishing speed, and you can't feel a thing. Just carried along, smooth and easy, the way a sleeping child is carried up to bed. So there's nothing at all you need to do tonight but rest. The whole great turning of the heavens is happening all on its own, gently, patiently, without needing anything from you at all. So let it. Just let it all turn, softly and slowly, while you drift here in the warm, sinking deeper and deeper towards sleep. And isn't it a comforting thing when you really let it settle in? That all this vast machinery of the heavens, all these worlds and moons and rings and drifting clouds of ice, they carry on turning without asking a single thing of you. You don't have to wind them up. You don't have to keep them spinning. They were turning long before you were born, and they'll keep on turning long after tonight has faded into morning. And all you have to do, the only thing in the whole wide universe you need to do right now, is lie here, warm and easy, and let your breathing slow, and let the day drain gently out of your shoulders. Let's stay out here a little longer, you and I, drifting among these quiet worlds. There's no hurry at all. We've got all the time we could ever want, out here in the soft dark, and nothing to rush toward and nothing to leave behind. So let me tell you a few more gentle things, little thoughts to rest your mind on, the way you might rest your head on a cool, smooth pillow. Think, for a moment, about how quiet it really is out there between the planets. We tend to imagine space as a busy, crowded place, full of stars packed close together. But honestly, the truth is far more peaceful than that. Space is mostly just space, wide and open and calm. If you were to travel from one planet to the next, you'd drift for a long, long while through nothing but soft emptiness, with the stars hanging perfectly still all around you, not twinkling the way they do from down here, but shining steady and clear, each one a quiet little light that never wavers. There's no wind out there to make them flicker, no air at all, just a deep, gentle stillness, stretching on in every direction, calm as the surface of a pond at midnight. And the silence, oh, the silence out there is the softest silence there is. Down here on Earth, even in the quietest hour of the night, there's always some small sound, isn't there? The hum of something far away, the settling of the house, the gentle sighing of your own breath. But out in the space between the worlds, Sound has nothing at all to travel through, so it simply doesn't. It's a silence so complete, so deep, and so soft that it wraps around everything like the thickest, coziest of blankets. Not a lonely silence, though, a restful one. The kind of quiet you might find deep in the woods on a winter's night, when the snow is falling and everything is hushed and still and perfectly, wonderfully calm. Now, let your mind wander back toward the sun for just a moment, back toward that warm golden heart of everything. Have you ever thought about how the sun holds all of this together? Every single planet, every moon, every little wandering speck of ice out in that faraway cloud. They're all held in their slow and patient circles by the gentle, invisible pull of the sun. It's not a harsh grip. It's the softest kind of holding there is. A pull so gentle you could never feel it, and yet strong enough to keep whole worlds swinging around in their great slow loops for billions upon billions of years. Isn't that a lovely thing? That the thing holding us all in place is something we can't see or hear or touch. Something quiet and steady that simply never lets go. And here's a thought that always settles me right down when I let it. The way the planets move around the sun, they don't travel in perfect circles. Not quite. They drift along in gentle ovals, coming a little closer to the sun for part of their journey, and then swinging a little further away, over and over endlessly, like the slow rise and fall of a chest that's breathing deep in sleep. Every planet doing it at its own pace, some swift and some so very slow, but all of them breathing in and out around the sun, in and out, in and out, for ages upon ages. And maybe, if you listen to your own breathing right now, slow and easy, in and out, you might feel yourself falling into that same gentle rhythm. The rhythm of the whole solar system, turning softly all around you. Let's think about the smaller things too. The little wanderers that drift between the bigger worlds. Out there, scattered all across the wide dark, there are countless little chunks of rock and metal and ice, some no bigger than a pebble you might turn over in your hand, some as large as a mountain, all of them tumbling slowly and quietly along their own soft paths. Most of them will never come near anything at all. They'll just drift on and on through the calm dark, turning gently end over end, catching a faint glimmer of far-off sunlight now and then, keeping their own slow and patient company for longer than we could ever imagine. There's a whole wide belt of them, out between the rocky worlds and the great gathering of giants, a soft scattered ring of quiet drifting stones, spread so thin and so far apart that if you were floating right in the middle of it, you'd likely never even see one nearby. Just wide open space and the distant sun and the deep and gentle calm. And every so often, one of those little travelers will come drifting our way, and it'll slip into the top of our sky and catch fire in the softest, briefest streak of light. And we call that a shooting star. Isn't that a gentle thought? That some of those lovely little flashes across the night sky are just tiny travelers who've been drifting alone in the dark for millions and millions of years, finally arriving, finally coming home, blazing for one soft, quiet moment before they fade away. People used to make wishes on them, and honestly, I think that's a beautiful thing to do. But tonight, you don't need to wish for anything at all. You've got everything you need right here, warm and safe and settling in for sleep. Let me tell you something soft about light too. because I find it one of the most soothing things there is to think about. When you look up at the stars, you're not really seeing them as they are right now. You're seeing them as they were long ago, because their light has taken such a very long time to reach you. Some of that starlight set out on its journey toward your eyes hundreds of years ago. Some of it, thousands. Some of it, longer still than that. So when you gaze up at the night sky, you're really looking back in time, gazing at a soft and gentle picture of the way things used to be. A peaceful old photograph written in light, drifting down to you across the ages. There's nothing frightening in that. There's something deeply calming about it, actually. All that light, patient and slow, traveling all that way through the quiet dark, just to arrive here, softly, at the end of a long day, and rest for a moment in your sleepy eyes. And the colors of the stars. Did you know they have colors? If you look carefully on a clear night, you'll notice that some stars shine with a warm and cozy reddish glow, like the last embers of a fire settling down for the night. And others glimmer with a cool pale blue, like frost on a window pane, or the first soft light of a winter dawn. And plenty of them shine a gentle golden white, warm and steady, the color of a candle flame seen from across a quiet room. Each color tells you something about the star, how warm it is, how old it is, how it lives out its own long and patient life. But you don't need to remember any of that. Just picture them if you like. All those soft-colored little lights scattered across the black, like the gentlest handful of glowing coals and cool blue gems, all shining quietly, all keeping you company, all so very far away, and yet somehow so close and so kind. Now, let your thoughts drift back home again, back to our own small blue world, turning so gently beneath you. Isn't it remarkable, when you think of it, that of all the worlds we've wandered past tonight, all the burning ones and the frozen ones, and the ones wrapped in poison clouds and endless storms, ours is the one that's soft and green and blue, and just right. The one with warm oceans and cool forests, and the gentle air you're breathing in and out this very moment. It's a rare and precious thing, a world like this, and you're right here on it, cradled by it, held safe by it, breathing easy while it carries you slowly through the dark. There's no other place we know of, in all that wide and quiet universe, quite as warm and welcoming as this. And you belong to it, completely. You were made from the same soft stuff as the mountains and the seas and the far-off drifting stars. You're a little piece of the whole gentle universe, resting for a while, and there's nowhere you need to be tonight, but exactly where you are. Feel how heavy your body's growing now, sinking down into the softness beneath you, the way a stone sinks slowly and easily to the bottom of a calm, still pond. There's no effort left in you now. No need to hold anything up. No need to hold anything at all. Just let it all go soft. Let your hands grow heavy and warm. Let your arms grow heavy. Let that heaviness spread gently up through your shoulders and down along your back, warm and slow, like sunlight spreading across a quiet afternoon meadow. Every part of you settling, every part of you letting go, sinking softly towards sleep, while the whole great sky turns slowly on above you. And out there, all the while, the planets keep on drifting through their long, slow circles, patient and calm, not needing a thing from anyone. the little rocky worlds turning close in around the warm sun, the great striped giants swinging majestically through the outer dark, their many moons circling them like drowsy children gathered close, the icy wanderers drifting far out in the deep, cold quiet, tumbling gently along paths that take them lifetimes to travel. All of it turning, softly and slowly, exactly as it has since, long before the first of us ever looked up and wondered, and exactly as it will, long after tonight has slipped away into soft, forgotten dreams. Before you drift off completely, though, I'd love it if you'd do one small and gentle thing for me, whenever you feel like it. Tomorrow, perhaps, or some other quiet night. I'd love to know which of these faraway worlds is your favorite, the one your mind keeps drifting back to as you're settling down. Maybe it's the great golden storms of Jupiter, or the soft pale rings of Saturn, or that lonely little heart out on distant Pluto, turning slowly in the dark. Whatever it is, leave me a little note down in the comments and tell me, because honestly, I read them all, and there's nothing quite so lovely as knowing which of these quiet places brought you a bit of peace. And while you're there, if a certain fact tonight made you feel especially calm, or if there's some corner of the sky you'd like us to wander off to together on another night, tell me that too, and we'll go there, you and I, slowly and softly, some evening soon. But for now, there's nothing left to do at all. Just let your eyes stay closed, and let your breathing slow, and let yourself sink down, gently, warmly, into the deep and quiet dark, while the whole great heavens turn on above you, patient and kind, watching over you as you drift the rest of the way towards sleep. Now, while we're drifting out here among all these quiet worlds, let me tell you something soft and lovely about Saturn that most people never stop to think about. You know how heavy the giants are, how enormous, how they dwarf our own little Earth so completely. And yet Saturn, for all its size, is the lightest of them all. It's made of such soft, airy, swirling stuff that if you could somehow find an ocean vast enough to hold it, Saturn would float. Just imagine that for a moment, gently now, a whole giant planet, wider than 9 Earths lined up side by side, bobbing there on the water like a great golden apple, riding the slow swell of some impossible sea. It wouldn't sink at all. It would simply drift there, turning softly, its pale rings tilting this way and that as it rocked ever so gently on the waves. There's something wonderfully calming about that thought, isn't there? The biggest things aren't always the heaviest. Sometimes the grandest of all are the lightest, the softest, the ones that could rest on the surface of the water without ever going under. And speaking of Saturn, right up at the very top of it, spinning slowly around its northern pole, there's something so strange and so beautiful that when we first saw it clearly, no one quite believed it. It's a cloud pattern, a great swirling shape in the clouds, and it isn't round at all. It's a hexagon, 6 long sides, 6 gentle corners, a perfect 6-sided shape traced out in the soft golden mist, wider across than 2 whole Earths could stretch. It's been turning there quietly for as long as we've watched it, never breaking apart, never losing its shape, just spinning on in that same calm 6-sided pattern, like a design someone drew with the greatest care and then left to turn forever in the clouds. Nobody made it. It simply formed all on its own, out of the slow drift of the winds up there, a quiet piece of geometry, drawn by nothing but moving air. And it's still there right now, this very moment, turning softly in the dark while you rest. Let's drift a little closer to one of Saturn's moons now, because there's one out there I think you'll love. It's a small one, a tiny thing called Enceladus, and it's white all over. The whitest, brightest little world in all the solar system, wrapped from top to bottom in clean, fresh ice that shines like new fallen snow. It's so bright and so white because of what it does, softly and endlessly, out there in the cold. Deep underneath all that ice, there's an ocean of liquid water, hidden away in the dark. And from great cracks near the bottom of that little moon, tall fountains of that water go spraying up into space, gentle plumes of ice and mist rising slowly into the black, drifting up and up before settling back down as fresh, soft snow. It's forever snowing on Enceladus in the quietest, gentlest way, a slow, endless flurry of ice drifting down over a frozen little world, and some of that spray drifts even further, out and away, until it joins one of Saturn's faint outer rings, feeding it, keeping it soft and full. So one of those lovely rings is really made of snow from a tiny moon, breathing its ocean out into the dark, over and over, patiently, for longer than we've been alive to see it. There's another moon out there, circling Jupiter this time, and it holds a secret, much like that one. It's called Europa, and from the outside, it looks like a great smooth marble, pale and cracked all over with long, soft lines, like the surface of a frozen pond, crisscrossed with the faintest of scratches. And underneath that frozen shell, way down in the dark, there's water too. In fact, there may be more water hidden inside little Europa than in all the oceans of our own Earth put together. Just picture that for a moment, slowly and softly. A hidden sea, black and still and warm, tucked beneath miles of quiet ice, never seeing the sun, never feeling the wind, just resting there in the deep dark, turning gently with the moon as it circles its great striped giant. We don't know what's down there in that hidden ocean. Perhaps nothing at all, but isn't it a soft and wonderful thing just to know those quiet seas are out there, waiting patiently in the dark, keeping their secrets while the whole solar system turns slowly around them. Now you might think that only Saturn wears rings, since it's the one everybody pictures. But here's a gentle little secret. All four of the great giants have rings of their own, every single one of them. Jupiter has a thin, soft ring of the finest dust, so faint and delicate you'd hardly know it was there at all, made of tiny specks knocked loose from its little inner moons. Uranus wears a set of narrow, dark rings, slim and quiet, tilted up on their sides the same strange way the whole planet leans. And faraway Neptune has rings too, faint and broken ones, gathered here and there into soft clumps that we've given the loveliest names. So all the giants are crowned, in their own quiet ways. It's just that Saturn wears its jewelry so brightly, so boldly, that it outshines all the rest, while the others keep theirs soft and hidden, like a secret worn close, only to be seen if you go all the way out there and look very gently and very carefully. Let me tell you something soothing about the way these outer worlds keep their time too. Out here, so far from the warm sun, everything moves so terribly slowly. Down here on Earth, a single year feels like a good long while, doesn't it? The turning of the seasons, the leaves and the snow and the leaves again. But out where Saturn drifts, One single trip around the sun takes nearly 30 of our years. A child born when Saturn began its lap around the sun would be grown and gray by the time it came back round to the same soft spot in the sky. And Uranus, further still, takes 84 years to go around just once, so slowly that a person might live their whole gentle life and never see it complete a single circle. And Neptune, out there in the farthest cold, takes 165 of our years for one lap. It has only just, in all our history, finished one single trip around the sun since we first found it. Just imagine years so long, so slow, so unhurried. There's no rushing out there. There's all the time in the whole wide universe, and then a great deal more besides. And out beyond even Neptune, past Pluto and all its drifting neighbors, there are other little frozen worlds we found, tumbling quietly along in the deep, cold dark. There's one called Eris, about the same size as Pluto, so far away that its own long year lasts more than 500 of ours. And there's one with the gentlest name of all, a little world called Make-Make, and another called Haumea, which spins so quickly that it's been stretched right out into the shape of a soft egg, turning end over end in the quiet. These are the dwarf planets, the small ones, the far ones, and there are surely many more of them out there that we haven't even spotted yet, drifting patiently in the dark, waiting to be found some quiet future night. Isn't it lovely to think there are still whole little worlds out there, waiting, unseen, turning softly in the cold, keeping to themselves at the far edge of everything? Closer in, back between Mars and Jupiter, there's a gentle gap where the little rocky pieces gather, drifting round and round in a wide, soft belt. And there among them floats the biggest one of all, a small round world called Ceres, the only dwarf planet living in that inner belt. For the longest time, we thought it was just another chunk of rock. But when we drifted close and looked, we found it was round and whole, a proper little world of its own, with bright pale patches on its surface that shine when the sunlight touches them. Patches of soft salt left behind where water once seeped up from below and slowly drifted away. It's a quiet little place, Ceres, going peacefully about its slow business out there among all its smaller cousins, the gentle round giant of that drifting belt. Now here's something soft and comforting about the great giant Jupiter that I always love to think of as I'm drifting off. In a way, that enormous planet has been watching over us, over our whole little Earth, for longer than there have been people to notice. Jupiter is so vast, and its gentle invisible pull is so strong that it quietly gathers up so many of the wandering bits of ice and rock that come drifting in from the far cold edges of everything. Like a great patient giant standing watch at the door, it tugs so many of them gently off their paths, drawing them softly toward itself instead of letting them wander further in toward the little worlds like ours. It's not doing it for us, of course. It doesn't know we're here at all, but there's something so calming in the thought of that huge quiet giant out there, turning slowly, sweeping the dark clear as it goes, keeping the way a little safer for the small green world, where you lie resting now, warm beneath your blankets. And think of the moons for a moment, all the many moons out there, more than 200 of them that we've found so far, circling their planets in the dark, big ones and little ones, round ones and lumpy ones, some as grand as small planets and some no bigger than a mountain. Jupiter's great moon Ganymede is the largest of them all, larger even than the planet Mercury, a whole enormous world in its own right. And yet it spends its days quietly circling something far bigger still. There are moons out there that are frozen solid, and moons wrapped in soft haze, and moons cracked all over with ice, and one strange little moon of Neptune that circles its planet backwards, going the wrong way round, as if it wandered in from somewhere else long ago and simply decided to stay. Each one of them turning faithfully around its own quiet world, the way that world turns around the sun, circles within circles within circles, all of it wheeling slowly and softly through the dark, patient as anything, never tiring, never stopping, just turning on and on the way it always has. Let me leave you with one more soft thought before we drift on. Every one of these far worlds, every planet and moon and little chunk of drifting ice, was born from the very same soft cloud. Long ago, there was once a great slow whirl of dust and gas out here where the solar system is now, turning gently in the dark. And out of it, little by little, everything formed. The sun gathered in the middle, warm and bright, and all around it, the leftover bits of that soft cloud slowly drew together, grain by grain, pebble by pebble, into the planets and the moons and all the rest. Which means they're all related, every last one of them. The rusty red of Mars and the golden bands of Jupiter and the pale rings of Saturn and the deep blue of Neptune and the little world you're resting on tonight. All of them made from the same gentle stuff. All of them brothers and sisters born from the same slow-turning cloud, drifting apart now into their own quiet orbits, but forever bound together by where they came from. And you, resting there in the soft dark, you're part of that same old family too, made from that same gentle stardust, turning slowly through the night along with all the rest. And isn't it a soft and comforting thing to know that you belong to something so old and so gentle, that the very iron in your blood and the calcium in your bones was cooked up long ago in the heart of some warm and ancient star, long before the sun was ever born? You are made of the leftovers of stars, resting there beneath your blankets. And so is the bed you lie on, and the water in the glass beside you, and the wooden beams above your head. All of it, every last atom, drifted here from somewhere out in the deep and quiet dark, and gathered together, slowly and patiently, into the soft, familiar shapes of home. Let me tell you something else that I find wonderfully soothing, and it's about how slowly time can pass out there among the far worlds. You know how here at home, a year feels like a good long while, don't you? 4 seasons, one after another, the warm months and the cool ones, turning round and round. But out on the great giant Jupiter, a single year lasts nearly 12 of our own. A child born on the day Jupiter began one of its long, slow laps around the sun would be almost grown before that lap was finished. And further out still, on gentle ringed Saturn, 1 year stretches on for nearly 30 of ours. Imagine that, 30 of our whole years, just for one soft, slow journey around the sun. And out on distant Neptune, the deep blue world at the far cold edge, a single year lasts around 165 of ours. Neptune has only completed one full trip around the sun since the day we first found it, all those years ago. Just one single lap. In all that time, everything out there moves so gently, so unhurriedly, that our whole busy lives down here would pass by in the space of one of their slow, quiet years. And think how differently the days pass too, from world to world. Here at home, we have our comfortable rhythm, light and dark, waking and sleeping, turning round once every 24 hours, the way we've always known. But out on the great giants, the days go rushing by. Jupiter, for all its enormous size, spins so quickly that a whole day and night passes there in only about 10 of our hours. Just imagine the sun rising and setting on that vast striped world twice in a single one of our ordinary afternoons. And Saturn spins nearly as fast, turning right round in only a little over 10 hours as well. These are the biggest worlds of all, and yet they're the quickest to turn, wheeling round and round in the dark far faster than our own gentle Earth ever does. There's something rather lovely in that, I think. The largest of them spin the fastest, and yet from far enough away, they still look perfectly still, perfectly calm, hanging there in the quiet, like ornaments that never move at all. Now, let me share a soft thought about how gently different you would feel if you could somehow stand upon these other worlds. You know how your body has a certain weight to it, the comfortable heaviness you feel right now, pressing you down into the softness beneath you. Well, that weight would change from world to world, because each one pulls on things with its own gentle strength. On our little moon, you'd weigh only about 1/6 of what you weigh here, so light you could bounce along like something out of a dream, drifting up with every soft step and floating slowly back down again. On rusty little Mars, you'd weigh only about 1/3 of your usual weight, light and springy, as though half your tiredness had simply lifted away. And on the great giant Jupiter, if only there were somewhere solid to stand, you'd feel heavier than you ever have, pressed down gently but firmly by that enormous pull. But don't worry about any of that now. Here, in your own bed, on your own kind world, your weight is exactly right, exactly what your body has always known, holding you softly and safely against the earth so you'll never drift away. Here's another quiet wonder to rest your mind on. Out there, so far away that the numbers stop meaning very much at all, there are other suns, countless other suns, each one a star like our own. And around so many of them, we've come to learn there are other worlds turning, other planets circling in the dark, just as ours do here. We call them by a lovely name. We call them the far worlds, the planets that belong to other stars. We've found thousands of them now, thousands upon thousands, and every year we find still more. Some are great giants like Jupiter, hugging close to their stars. Some are small and rocky, perhaps a little like our own. There are worlds out there where it might rain glass, and worlds where two suns rise together in the sky, casting two soft shadows across the ground, the way it happens only in the gentlest of stories. And some of them, perhaps, are quiet and green and just right, with soft oceans and gentle air, where somewhere, on some far and peaceful night, another little someone might be settling down to sleep beneath their own strange blankets, under their own unfamiliar stars. Isn't that a soothing thought to drift away on? That we might not be alone in the dark, after all. That all across the great wide everything, there might be quiet worlds turning softly, keeping each other company across the enormous friendly night. Let me tell you something calm about the colors of these far worlds too, because I find it one of the loveliest things to picture. Each planet wears its own soft shade, you see, like a favorite blanket it's wrapped itself in. Our own Earth is blue and green and swirled with soft white cloud, the prettiest marble in all the dark. Mars glows that gentle rusty red, warm as autumn leaves. Jupiter is banded in cream and gold and pale brown, like something poured slowly and left to settle. Saturn is softer still, a pale buttery gold, calm as candlelight. And then, right out at the far cold edge, the two great ice giants glow the tenderest shades of blue. Uranus like the very palest sea glass, and Neptune a deeper, richer blue, like the last of the twilight just before the stars come out. All of them together, if you could line them up and look, would make the gentlest and most beautiful of rainbows, strung out across the dark, each one turning quietly in its place, wearing the soft color it's always worn. And here's a thing I find endlessly comforting about the way it all fits together, the way the whole great family is arranged. The little rocky worlds gather close in around the warm sun, four small ones, Mercury and Venus, and our own dear Earth and rusty Mars, huddled near the fire like children on a cold night. And then, further out, past that gentle belt of drifting rocks, the four great giants keep their distance, spread wide across the deep and quiet cold, each one with all the room in the world to turn in. It's as though the whole thing were arranged by a kind and careful hand, the small ones snug near the warmth, the great ones out in the roomy dark, where their vast slow bulk has space to wheel, and everything holds its place, patiently, faithfully, never crowding, never colliding, just turning on and on in its own soft lane, the way it has for longer than anyone could ever count. Let me leave the planets for just a moment and tell you something gentle about the space between them, because it's stranger and softer than you might think. We talk about the emptiness out there, the great dark gaps between one world and the next, and it's true that they're vast, so vast that light itself, the fastest thing there is, takes hours and hours to cross them. But that emptiness isn't quite as empty as it sounds. There's a soft and endless breeze that blows out from the sun, a gentle stream of tiny, tiny things, drifting outward in every direction, all the time, forever. We call it the solar wind, and it flows out past all the planets, out past Pluto, out toward the very edges of everything, carrying a little breath of the sun with it, wherever it goes. And when that soft breeze reaches our own world and brushes against the gentle shield that wraps around us, it can set the northern skies alight, painting them in slow green and violet waves, the lights that dance so quietly over the cold places of the earth. So even that great emptiness is full in its own way, full of a gentle wind blowing softly and endlessly through the dark, tying every world back to the warm, bright heart of it all. And speaking of that gentle shield around our earth, isn't it a comforting thing to know it's there? All around our little world, wrapped invisibly about it, there's a soft field of protection, born from the slow turning of the warm iron deep down at the very center of the planet. You can't see it or feel it, but it's there all the same, quietly turning aside the fiercest of that solar wind, keeping the air safe and the surface gentle, holding a soft protective arm around every living thing. It's been there, faithfully, for billions of years, and it'll go on being there long after tonight, long after you've woken and slept 1,000 times more. You don't ever have to think about it, or thank it, or tend to it. It simply does its quiet work, out beyond the edge of the sky, keeping you safe while you rest, Here's one last soft wonder before we wander on a little further. Have you ever thought about how the light we see from the far planets is really the sun's own light, sent back to us across all that distance? None of the planets shine with a light of their own, you see. Not one of them burns the way the sun does. When you look up on a clear night and see Jupiter or Saturn or Venus glowing steady and calm among the stars, what you're really seeing is sunlight. The very same warm sunlight that touches your own window in the morning, traveling all the way out to those distant worlds, brushing softly against their clouds and their rings and their frozen faces, and then bouncing gently back across the dark, all those millions of miles, just to reach your eye. So in a way, when you gaze up at a planet in the night, you're really watching the sun's light come home again, having wandered out into the cold and touched a faraway world and turned quietly around to find its way back. There's something so tender in that, I think. Even the light out there is always, always trying to make its way home. And you, resting here in the soft, warm dark, you're home already. You don't have to travel anywhere at all tonight. Let the far worlds keep on turning without you, slow and patient and faithful. The giants wheeling in the cold, the little moon circling round and round, the gentle solar wind drifting endlessly out toward the stars. It'll all still be there in the morning, exactly as it's always been, needing nothing from you, asking nothing of you. All you have to do right now is lie here and breathe and let yourself grow soft and heavy and still, while somewhere far above the roof, that whole great quiet family goes on turning gently through the endless friendly dark. And here's something soft I've been wanting to tell you, now that we're settled in like this. Have you ever thought about how gently everything out there was made? Long, long ago, before there was an earth to lie down on, before there was a sun to warm it. There was only a great soft cloud of dust and gas, drifting quietly through the dark, going nowhere in particular, in no hurry at all. And ever so slowly, over ages and ages that the mind can hardly hold, that cloud began to gather itself together, a little here, a little there, the way frost gathers on a cold window through the night while you sleep. There was no rush to it, no sudden moment, just a patient drawing together, grain by grain, speck by speck, until the middle grew warm and bright and became our sun, and the leftover bits swirled round and round and settled slowly into the worlds we've been wandering past tonight. So every planet out there, every stone and every grain came together softly, quietly, without a sound, over a stretch of time so long it makes tonight feel like the smallest, coziest blink. Isn't that a lovely thing to rest inside of? That even the making of worlds was slow and gentle and unhurried, just like you're allowed to be right now. And once those worlds had gathered themselves together, they began their slow and patient turning, and they've been turning ever since, faithfully, without ever once stopping to rest. But you can rest. That's the beautiful part. You get to lie here soft and still while all of that keeps turning for you, needing nothing, asking nothing, just carrying on the way it always has. Let me tell you something calm about how empty it really is out there too, because it's stranger and softer than most people ever stop to think. When you look up at the night sky and see all those planets and stars gathered together, it looks so full, doesn't it? So crowded and close. But the truth is, the space between the worlds is almost unimaginably wide and open. If you were to shrink our sun down to the size of a big beach ball and set it down in a field, our Earth would be a tiny little peppercorn, rolling around it slowly from about the length of a city block away. And Jupiter, the great giant, would be no bigger than a marble, tumbling along from further off still. And Neptune, way out at the edge, would be a tiny speck you'd have to walk nearly a mile to reach. All that emptiness in between, all that soft and quiet dark, with just these few little worlds drifting through it, spaced so far apart, each one keeping to its own gentle path. There's something so peaceful in that, I think. All that room, all that space to breathe. Nothing crowded, nothing pressing in. Just a handful of quiet worlds floating far apart in a great, calm, open dark, each one moving slowly and steadily along, with all the room in the world to do it. And here's a soft thought that follows on from that. Because everything out there is so far apart, and because even the fastest things in the universe still take their time to cross those great open spaces, the sky you see at night is really a kind of gentle memory. The light from the nearer stars has been traveling toward you for years and years, and the light from the further ones for hundreds or thousands of years, drifting quietly across all that emptiness, just to arrive at your window tonight. So when you look up, you're not really seeing the sky as it is this very moment. You're seeing it as it was long ago, a soft picture of the past, held gently in the light. Some of those stars sent out their glow before you were born, before your grandparents were born, and it's only reaching you now, this very night, as you lie here growing sleepy. It's a kindness in a way, the way the universe holds on to its light and delivers it so slowly, so patiently, letting you see things exactly as they were, keeping the old glow safe across all that time and all that distance, just so it can reach your eyes at last. Now let me tell you something warm about comets, because I don't think we've lingered on them quite enough, and they're among the gentlest travelers of all. Out there in the deep cold, far beyond the planets, there are these little worlds made mostly of ice and dust, drifting slowly along their long, looping paths. Most of the time, they're fast asleep, frozen solid, dark and quiet, wandering the outer dark for hundreds or thousands of years at a stretch. But every so often, one of them begins the long, slow fall inward, drawn gently back toward the warm, bright sun. And as it draws nearer and the sunlight touches it, the ice begins to soften and lift away, and it grows the softest, longest tail behind it, a trailing veil of shimmering dust and vapor, catching the light and glowing pale against the dark. That tail can stretch out for millions of miles, so soft and thin you could see the stars right through it, drifting behind the little comet like the train of a gown, like a long silk scarf caught in the gentlest of breezes. And then, having swung around the sun and warmed itself for a little while, the comet turns and begins the long journey back out into the cold and quiet, its tail slowly fading, its ice slowly firming up again, until it settles once more into its long, patient sleep far from the light. Some of them come back around again and again, faithfully, once in a lifetime, or once in many lifetimes, so that a person might see the very same comet as a small child, and then again, if they're lucky, as a wrinkled old soul near the end of their days. There's something so tender in that, I think. The same little visitor coming back around after all those years, having wandered out into the dark and returned again, patient and faithful and right on time. And speaking of things that fall softly toward the sun, let me tell you something soothing about the way the planets keep their balance out there. Because it's the gentlest kind of dance you could ever imagine. Each planet, you see, is always falling. That sounds a little strange, I know, but it's true, and it's lovely once you understand it. Every one of them is being pulled ever so softly toward the sun, tugged gently inward by that great invisible embrace. But at the very same time, each planet is moving sideways, drifting along its path, so that as it falls toward the sun, it also sweeps a little past it, and falls and sweeps past again, forever and ever, going round and round in a great soft circle. It's a bit like a child on a swing at the very top of the arc, hanging there for the softest moment, held between falling and floating. The planets do that always, endlessly, falling and never landing, held forever in that gentle balance, neither drawn in nor let go, just carried round and round in the calmest, slowest, most patient loop you could imagine. Nobody has to hold them there. Nobody has to keep them going. They simply fall and float, round and round through the quiet dark. And they'll keep on doing it long after tonight, long after you've slept and woken 1,000 times more. Let me tell you something quiet about the colors of the sky on other worlds too, because it's one of the softest things to picture as you drift off. Here at home, the sky is blue in the daytime and turns to gold and rose at evening, and we're so used to it that we hardly notice anymore. But every world has its own colors, its own gentle way of holding the light. On Mars, that little rusty world, the daytime sky is a soft, dusty color, a pale butterscotch, a gentle tan, because of all the fine reddish dust hanging in the thin air. But here's the loveliest part, the part I always find so soothing. At sunset on Mars, when the little sun sinks down toward the edge of that dusty world, the sky does the opposite of ours. Instead of glowing red and gold at the edges, it turns a soft, cool blue right around the setting sun, a gentle wash of blue settling over the horizon as the light fades. Just imagine that, a quiet blue sunset on a faraway world, the little sun going down soft and small in a sky the color of deep, calm water, the dust settling slowly, the long, cold night coming gently on. There's no one there to see it. Most nights, just the empty red plains and the two little moons and the soft blue glow fading slowly to dark. But it happens all the same, evening after evening, a quiet blue sunset on a quiet red world, whether anyone's watching or not. And on the giant worlds, the colors are softer still, and stranger, and even more dreamlike. On Jupiter, if you could somehow float there among the clouds, you'd be wrapped in soft bands of cream and gold, and pale peach and gentle brown, whole layers of them, drifting slowly past one another, each moving at its own quiet pace. And deeper down, further and further into that great soft body of cloud, the light would fade and dim and go a deep, gentle blue, and then softer and darker still, until it faded away altogether into a warm, quiet, endless dusk. There's no hard ground down there to land on, no surface at all, just cloud giving way to softer cloud, deeper and deeper, warmer and warmer, all the way down. It's a strange thought, a world with no floor, nothing but soft layers of cloud folding into one another forever. But there's something oddly comforting in it too. The idea of sinking down and down through endless gentle softness, never landing, never stopping, just drifting deeper into the warm and quiet dark. Now here's a soft little thing I've always loved about the way the outer worlds hardly feel the sun at all. Down here, close to the fire, the sun is a big, warm, friendly thing, filling the sky, warming your face, brightening the whole world. But the further out you go, the smaller and gentler the sun becomes, until, far out where the ice worlds drift, it's shrunk down to little more than a bright and lovely star. One point of light among the many, just a bit larger and warmer than the rest. Out there, day and night are hardly different at all. The sun rises, if you can even call it rising, as just a slightly brighter speck creeping over the horizon, casting the faintest, softest shadows across the frozen ground. And it moves so slowly and shines so gently that it feels less like daytime and more like the tender blue hour just before dawn, held forever, never quite tipping over into day, never quite falling all the way into night, a perpetual soft twilight, out there at the edge of everything, calm and dim and endlessly peaceful, the little sun keeping its faithful watch from far away, too distant to warm those frozen worlds, but never so distant that it forgets them, never so far that it lets them slip entirely into the dark. And isn't that a comforting thing to carry with you into sleep? That even out there, at the very farthest reaches, where the cold is deep and the dark is wide, the sun is still shining, still reaching out, still sending its soft light across all those impossible miles to touch even the loneliest little world. It never gives up on any of them. It holds them all, near and far, warm and frozen, close ones and distant ones, in that same gentle, patient, unbreakable embrace. And it will go on holding them, quietly and faithfully, all through this night and every night to come. So you can let yourself go soft now, and heavy, and still. There's nothing out there that needs your watching. It all takes care of itself, the way it always has, the way it always will, turning slowly and gently through the friendly dark, while you rest here, safe and warm, and wonderfully far from all of it, drifting slowly down towards sleep, like a little comet, turning quietly for home. And here's another soft little thing, one I like to turn over slowly in my mind on nights like this. You know how, down here, we measure everything by the ground beneath our feet? We say something is heavy or light, tall or short, fast or slow, all of it measured against the solid earth we stand upon. But out there among the planets, there's no ground at all to measure by, nothing to push against, nothing that says up or down. A little pebble of ice drifting between the worlds isn't falling, and it isn't rising either. It's just floating, held gently in place by the whole great web of the sun's soft pull, turning ever so slowly as it goes, in no particular direction, toward no particular place. Imagine that for a moment, but gently. Imagine having nowhere you need to be, no floor beneath you, and no ceiling above. Just the soft dark all around, and the quiet turning of the stars, drifting along at your own unhurried pace, with nothing to hold on to, and nothing to weigh you down. It sounds lonely, maybe, when you first think of it, but there's a deep sweetness in it too. The idea of being carried along so gently that you never even feel the motion, held so softly that you forget you're being held at all, Now let me tell you something tender about the great slow dance the moons do around their planets, because it's one of the coziest things I know. You'd think, wouldn't you, that a moon would just circle its world quickly, round and round, like a stone whirled on a string. But most of them take their time about it, turning so patiently that a single trip around can take days or weeks or even longer out among the far giants. And here's the loveliest part. So many of these little moons have settled into a gentle habit over all the long ages of turning, where they always keep the very same face toward the world they circle. They never turn away, never show their far side, never break that soft and faithful gaze. Our own moon does it, as you know, always showing us the same familiar face, night after night after night, the same soft gray seas and the same pale mountains, so that the moon your grandmother looked up at is the very same face you see tonight. And out among the giants, dozens of little moons do just the same, each one turned forever toward its own great planet, holding its steady, loving gaze across all the long, slow, quiet years. There's something so faithful in that, so patient and so kind, and it's a gentle thing to carry with you as your own eyes grow heavy and start to close. Let me tell you something soft about ice too, because out there in the deep cold, it isn't quite the ice we know. Down here, ice is a fleeting thing, a thin skin on a winter puddle, a few cubes in a glass on a warm evening, something that comes and goes with the seasons. But out there in the endless cold of the far worlds, ice is as solid and as lasting as stone. Whole moons are built of it, mountains of ice that have stood unchanged for longer than we can begin to imagine. Cliffs and valleys and wide frozen plains, all of them made of frozen water and frozen air, hard as rock in that terrible deep cold. And some of it isn't the clear cold ice you'd picture either. There's ice out there tinted the softest of colors, pale reds and gentle golds and dusty pinks, colored by the different frozen gases mixed all through it, so that a frozen world can look like something carved from the palest of gemstones, glowing faintly in the far dim light of the distant sun. Imagine walking, if you could, across one of those frozen plains, everything still and silent and shining softly around you, the ground firm and smooth beneath your feet, stretching away in every direction, under a sky full of stars. Not a sound anywhere, not a breath of wind, just you and the soft glowing ice and the great patient quiet, stretching on and on into the gentle dark. And here's a thought that always slows my breathing right down. When I lie here in the dark and let my mind wander out among the worlds, everything out there moves so slowly, so smoothly, so utterly without hurry. Nothing rushes. Nothing races to get anywhere. The planets take their long, patient years to circle round the sun, and the moons take their gentle days and weeks to circle round the planets. And the great icy wanderers out at the edge take thousands upon thousands of years just to make a single loop. Nothing out there has ever once been in a hurry, not in all the long ages since it all began. It just turns and drifts and circles slowly and steadily and endlessly in that deep, unbroken calm. And I find such comfort in that on a night like this. Because down here we're always rushing, aren't we? Always hurrying from one thing to the next. Always feeling like there isn't quite enough time. But out there, there's nothing but time. Oceans of it. More time than we could ever spend. and everything moves through it slowly and gently and without the slightest worry. So you can let a little of that slowness settle into you now. As you lie here, you can let yourself slow down to match the turning of the worlds, breathing soft and slow, drifting easy, in no hurry at all to get anywhere, because there's nowhere you need to be, and all the time in the world to be there. Let me tell you something gentle about how the planets keep each other company too. You might think of them as lonely things, each one turning by itself in the great empty dark. And in a way they are, separated by such enormous distances that they never come close, never touch, never really meet. But they're all bound together, all the same, held in the same soft embrace of the sun, all turning around that same warm center, like dancers moving slowly around a fire. And every so often, when you look up from down here, you can see 2 or 3 of them gathered close together in the evening sky, seeming to draw near one another for a little while, a gentle grouping of soft, steady lights among the twinkling stars. They aren't really close, of course. They're still millions upon millions of miles apart, each one going its own slow way. But for a night or two, they seem to keep each other company up there, shining side by side in the deepening blue. And it's one of the loveliest things to look up and see. The bright, steady glow of them, not twinkling like the stars, but shining calm and true. 3 little worlds, and our own soft moon perhaps, all gathered together for a quiet moment in the gentle dusk before they drift their separate ways again. And I love to think about how the light changes out there too, as the day gives way to night on all those distant worlds. Here at home, we have our lovely long sunsets, the sky going gold and rose and deep soft purple as the sun slips down behind the hills. But every world has its own kind of dusk, its own gentle way of turning from day into night. On some of them, the change comes soft and slow, the little far-off sun sinking so gradually that dusk seems to last for hours, the light fading by the gentlest of degrees. On others, the darkness comes more quickly, but always there's that quiet moment of turning, that soft hush as the light slips away and the stars come creeping out. And on every single one of them, no matter how strange or far or cold, the same thing happens that happens here. The world turns its face away from the sun, and the warmth fades, and the great calm dark comes flowing in, and everything settles down into the deep, still quiet of the night. It's happening right now, somewhere out there on world after world after world. Dusk falling soft on a frozen plain, the last light fading from a golden hazy sky, the stars appearing one by one over some silent, distant sea of ice, all of it turning gently into night, the same way night is falling around you now, soft and slow and endlessly peaceful. Here's one more quiet thing before we drift a little further. Think about how patient the whole great machine of it really is. Every planet has been turning on its path for longer than there have been eyes to watch it, circling and circling in the same slow, faithful way, never once stopping, never once faltering, never once needing to be wound up or set right or looked after. It simply goes, the way it has always gone, the way it will keep on going long after this night is past, and long after we've all forgotten our small worries and drifted off to sleep. The sun will keep on shining, the planets will keep on turning, the moons will keep on circling, and the little icy wanderers will keep on drifting along their long, slow loops, all of it carrying on in that same deep calm, whether anyone is watching or not. There's such a comfort in that, isn't there? Knowing that it all keeps turning without any help from us, that we can close our eyes and let go completely, and none of it will stop. None of it will fall out of place. None of it needs our worry or our watching. It just goes on, patient and gentle and sure, holding its quiet course through the friendly dark while we rest. And doesn't it soften something in you? To think of your own little life resting inside all that great slow turning? Right now, as you lie here warm and still, the whole earth is carrying you along, spinning slowly beneath the stars, sweeping you round the sun the way it swept every sleeper who ever lived. You don't have to do anything to keep it going. You don't have to steer or push or hold on tight. You're simply being carried gently and safely, the way you were carried through every night of your whole life, held by the same soft turning that holds the moon and the tides and all the drifting worlds. So let yourself be carried now. Let the great slow turning take you, the way it takes the planets and the moons and the far cold wanderers, sweeping you softly onward through the quiet dark toward the morning that will come, in its own good time, without any hurry, without any effort, without a single thing for you to do, but rest here and let it happen. Let me tell you something tender about the way the far worlds hold their secrets too. So many of them are wrapped in cloud or haze or drifting mist, their surfaces hidden away from any watching eye, so that even now, after all our long looking, there's so much out there we've never quite seen. Whole worlds turning slowly beneath their soft veils of cloud, keeping their quiet faces hidden, holding on to whatever gentle landscapes lie beneath. And I find something lovely in that, honestly. The idea that the universe still keeps a few soft secrets, still has quiet places we've never glimpsed, still holds a little mystery folded away in the dark. Not everything has to be known. Not everything has to be seen and measured and understood. Some things can just be left to turn quietly beneath their clouds, out there in the peaceful dark, keeping their own soft company, in no hurry to be found. And you can let a little of that settle over you too, as you drift. You don't have to know everything tonight. You don't have to solve anything, or figure anything out, or turn anything over one more time. You can just let it all be, soft and hidden and quiet, and let yourself sink down into the gentle not knowing, the way those far worlds sink into their own soft veils of cloud. So rest now, and let your thoughts drift out among them, slow and easy, from world to world, across the great calm dark. The little rocky ones huddled near the fire, warm and close. The great striped giants turning slowly further out, wrapped in their soft bright bands. The pale ice worlds drifting quietly at the edge, glowing faintly in the far dim light. And all around and between them, that deep unbroken quiet, that endless patient calm, holding everything gently in its place. There's nothing out there for you to tend to, nothing that needs your care, nothing that won't keep turning just fine while you let go and drift away. It all takes care of itself, softly and surely, the way it always has, the way it always will. And you can let yourself grow heavier now, and softer and stiller, sinking down through the warm and quiet dark, like a little world settling gently into its own slow orbit, turning easy, drifting free, carried onward through the peaceful night toward sleep. Let me tell you something soft about how far apart the giants really keep from one another, because it's a comfort to think about. Out there past Mars, the worlds don't crowd together the way the little rocky ones do near the fire. They spread themselves out wide and easy, each one with vast oceans of empty dark between it and the next. Jupiter drifts along on its slow path, and then there's nothing but quiet space for a very long way before you'd ever reach Saturn. And further still, another great stretch of gentle nothing before Uranus, and further even than that to Neptune, out at the cold, soft edge. They never bump, never jostle, never crowd one another. Each one keeps to its own wide lane, turning peacefully, in no danger of ever getting in another's way. There's room enough out there for everyone, room enough and to spare. All that gentle open dark holding each world softly apart from the rest. And isn't that a kind of tender thing to picture as you settle in? All those enormous worlds, and yet each one with plenty of quiet space to call its own, drifting alone and untroubled through the peaceful dark, never once needing to hurry aside for anybody. Let me tell you something calm about the way a giant planet holds on to its warmth too. You might think, out there so far from the sun, that a world like Jupiter or Saturn would be nothing but cold all the way through, frozen right down to its very heart. But it isn't so, not quite. Deep down inside those great swirling giants, there's a soft old warmth still glowing, left over from the long ago days when they first gathered themselves together out of the dark. Saturn, in fact, gives off a little more warmth than it ever receives from the distant sun, quietly letting go of the heat it's held onto for billions of years, slowly and gently, the way a stone wall gives back the sun's warmth long after evening has fallen. And I find that a lovely thing. Honestly, the idea of these enormous old worlds keeping a little ember of warmth tucked away inside them, patiently letting it seep out into the cold, in no hurry to be rid of it, holding on to that first soft heat for ages beyond all counting. There's something so peaceful in that, a warmth that just keeps quietly giving, asking nothing in return, glowing softly, on and on, through all the long, slow years. Let me tell you something gentle about Saturn's rings and how they murmur too. Those beautiful bright rings aren't one solid thing, you know, not a smooth sheet like a brim of a hat. They're made of countless little pieces of ice, some as tiny as grains of sugar, some as big as a house, all of them tumbling slowly along together, side by side, each one following its own soft path around the planet. And they're forever gently nudging one another, drifting a little closer and a little further apart, so that the whole great ring seems almost to breathe, to ripple, to shimmer with the softest of movements, like sunlight playing on the surface of a calm pond. Wave upon gentle wave passes slowly through them, so slow you could watch for hours and hardly see it change. All those little icy travelers turning peacefully together in the cold, bright dark. Picture them if you like, all those countless glittering flecks of ice, catching the far pale light of the sun and giving it back in a soft silver glow, turning and turning without a sound, forever falling and never landing, held in their beautiful bright circle round the great striped world. Let me tell you something soothing about how the seasons pass on Saturn too, because they're the slowest, gentlest seasons you could ever imagine. Saturn takes nearly 30 of our years to travel just once around the sun, and so its seasons stretch out long and slow, each one lasting 7 of our years or more. Imagine that, A single soft season, a springtime or an autumn, going on and on for 7 whole years, unhurried, unfolding so gently you'd hardly notice it turning. And as the great planet leans slowly this way and that on its long journey, the sunlight falls first on one face of those beautiful rings, and then, years and years later, on the other, so that they seem to open and close, ever so slowly, like the gentlest of eyes blinking once across the span of decades. There's no rushing out there, nothing sudden, nothing quick, just the long patient turning of a world that has all the time in the world, drifting through its endless slow seasons, in no hurry to reach anything at all. Let me tell you something quiet about Titan, that great golden moon of Saturn, because it's one of the strangest and softest places in all the solar system. It's the only moon we know that's wrapped in a thick, full sky of its own. A hazy golden air so deep you can't see the ground beneath it at all. Just soft amber cloud wrapping it round and round. And down beneath that golden haze, out of the cold, there are lakes and seas and gentle rivers, real ones, real shores, and real still water. Only they aren't made of water at all. They're made of soft, cold liquid, the kind of stuff that's only ever a gas back home, gathered out there into calm, dark pools and slow, winding streams under that hazy amber sky. Imagine standing softly on the shore of one of those still, cold seas, the golden light all around you, the air thick and quiet, a gentle rain falling ever so slowly, drop by patient drop, drifting down through the heavy air softer than any snow. It's a world with weather, with clouds and rain and rivers, all its own, turning peacefully out there in the far cold dark, keeping its gentle secrets under that soft golden veil. Let me tell you something tender about the moons of the ice giants too, out there where Uranus and Neptune drift. They carry such small, quiet families of moons compared to the great crowds that circle Jupiter and Saturn, just a gentle handful each, keeping their far worlds company in the deep, cold dark. And some of those little moons are among the strangest, softest places we've ever glimpsed. There's one that circles Uranus with a surface all folded and creased, like a soft cloth that's been gently gathered up. Great cliffs and valleys wound all across it in the quietest of patterns. And there's Triton, out at Neptune, drifting the wrong way round its world, slow and peaceful and cold, with soft pale plains of frozen nitrogen spread all across it, gleaming faintly in the far dim light. These little moons ask for nothing, out there at the very edge, turning slowly through the dark so far from any warmth. They just keep their patient company, circling their pale worlds over and over, the way they have for longer than we can rightly imagine, and the way they will go on doing long after this quiet night has passed. Let me tell you something calm about how gently the light fades as you travel outward too. Down here, close to the fire, the sun pours its warmth all around us, bright and full and generous. But as you drift outward, world by world, that light grows softer and softer, dimmer and cooler, gentler with every step you take into the dark. Out by Jupiter, the sun is already only a fraction as bright as we know it, a smaller, milder thing in a darker sky. Further out at Saturn, dimmer still, and by the time you reach Neptune, out at the cold, soft edge of everything, the sun has shrunk to little more than a very bright star, casting a light so faint and pale that it would seem like a long, soft twilight there, all day and all night, a gentle, endless dusk. Imagine that, a whole world living forever in the soft blue hush of twilight, never quite dark and never quite bright, just wrapped in that dim and peaceful glow, hour after hour, year after slow year. There's something so restful in it, that far quiet dimness, that gentle fading of the light, like a lamp turned down low in a room where someone is drifting off to sleep. Let me tell you something soft about how the whole great family of worlds leans and tilts too, each one in its own gentle way. Every planet turns a little sideways as it spins, tipped over just so. And that little tilt is what gives each of them their seasons, their long, slow changes of light and shadow. Our own dear Earth leans over just gently, and that soft lean is what brings us our summers and our winters, our warm, bright days and our long, cozy nights. Mars leans just about the same, tilting into its own slow seasons. But the others each have their own soft angle, their own particular way of leaning into the dark. Some sit nearly upright, spinning like tidy little tops, and one, far out, lies almost fully on its side, rolling along its path rather than spinning upright, so that its seasons are the strangest and longest of them all. Each world found its own gentle leans long ago, in the soft early days when everything was still settling into place, and each has kept it faithfully ever since, tilting quietly through the dark, turning its seasons over slow and easy, in no hurry to change a thing. And let me leave you with one more gentle thought before we drift on a little further. Every one of these far worlds, every giant and every little icy moon, every ring and every soft golden haze, has been turning out there in the quiet dark this whole long while, all through your day, all through every day of your life, asking nothing of you, needing nothing from you, just turning peacefully on and on. While you woke, and while you worked, and while you moved through all your busy hours, Saturn was drifting slowly along its wide, bright path, and Titan's soft rain was falling gently through its golden air, and Triton was turning quietly the wrong way round its pale, cold world. All of it going on without a sound, without a stir, without the smallest need of your attention. And it's all still going on right now, this very moment, as you lie here soft and warm and heavy, sinking gently down towards sleep. All those far worlds turning, all that quiet dark holding them, all that gentle endless motion carrying on just fine, the same as it always has, the same as it always will, whether you're awake to think of it or drifting deep and easy in your dreams. So there's nothing at all you need to hold on to now. You can let every last thought go soft and loose, and let the far worlds keep on turning without you, out there in the peaceful dark, while you sink down into the warm and quiet, safe and still, carried gently onward toward the morning. Let me tell you something soft about the names of these far worlds too, because there's a quiet comfort in where they come from. Every one of the planets we've drifted past tonight carries a name that's older than almost anything you can think of. Older than the oldest books, older than the oldest cities, handed down from people who looked up at the very same lights you can see tonight and gave them names to keep them company. They named the little wandering points of light after their gods, the ones they loved the most, the ones who watched over storms and seas and harvests and quiet homes. And so those names have been passed gently from mouth to mouth, from grandparent to grandchild, across thousands of years, all the way down to you, lying here in the warm dark, When you say the word Jupiter or the word Saturn, you're saying something that people were saying long before there were clocks, long before there were maps, whispering the same soft syllables up at the same soft lights. There's something so restful in that, isn't there? Being part of such a long and gentle chain of people, all of them gazing up, all of them wondering, all of them eventually drifting off to sleep beneath the very same sky. Let me tell you something calm about the tails of comets too, because they're gentler and stranger than you might imagine. When one of those little icy travelers comes drifting in from the far cold and swings close enough to feel the warmth of the sun, it begins to soften, ever so slowly, and a long faint tail unfurls behind it, made of the finest dust and vapor, streaming out into the dark. But here's the lovely part, the part hardly anyone stops to think about. That tail doesn't trail behind the comet the way smoke trails behind a train. No, the tail always points away from the sun, no matter which way the comet is traveling. So as the little comet rounds the sun and begins its long, slow journey back out into the cold, its tail actually goes before it, leading the way home, like a soft banner carried out ahead. It's the gentle pressure of the sunlight itself that pushes that delicate tail outward. Sunlight so soft you'd never feel it. And yet out there in the great quiet, it's enough to comb those long glowing streamers out across millions of kilometers of empty dark. A whisper of light, gently brushing a whisper of ice, out there where no one is watching at all. Let me tell you something soothing about how the whole solar system drifts too, because it's one of the most peaceful thoughts of all. We think of the sun as sitting still, don't we, with all the planets turning patiently around it. But the sun itself is drifting, carrying all of us along with it, wandering slowly through the great wide wheel of stars we call our galaxy. The whole family of worlds, the sun and the planets and the moons and the rings and all those little icy travelers, all of it sailing together through the dark, in one long, slow, unhurried journey around the center of the galaxy far away. And that journey is so vast, so wide, so gentle, that even moving swifter than anything you could ever picture, it takes the sun something like 230 million years to make just one lap around. 230 million years for a single circle. The last time the sun was where it is right now in that great slow turning, there were no people at all, no cities, no fields, only the earliest creatures stirring in warm ancient seas. And yet the sun simply carries on, drifting gently through the stars, in no hurry at all, taking us all along for the ride, so smoothly and so softly that you'd never feel a thing. Let me tell you something tender about the sunsets on Mars too, because they're not at all the color you'd expect. Here at home, our sunsets go warm, don't they? All gold and rose and deep glowing orange as the day slips away. But out on that quiet, rusty world, everything is turned gently around. Through all the long red daytime, the sky above Mars glows a soft, buttery pink, the color of the fine dust hanging in its thin, cool air. And then, when evening comes and the little sun sinks down toward the edge of that faraway world, the sky around it turns the softest, dreamiest blue, a gentle, glowing blue gathered close around the setting sun. Just picture it, a traveler sitting quietly on that far red plain, watching a small pale sun go down into a pool of soft blue light, while all the rest of the sky glows dusty pink above. It's the exact opposite of the sky we know. The warm and the cool traded gently around, and it happens out there every single evening, whether anyone is there to see it or not. A quiet blue sunset falling slowly over the red and silent sand. Let me tell you something soft about the moons of Jupiter too, because that great striped giant keeps some truly enormous companions. We've spoken of little Io with its gentle volcanoes, and of Europa with its smooth, cracked shell of ice. But there's another one out there, the biggest moon in all the solar system, larger even than the planet Mercury. Its name is Ganymede, and it's so grand that if it circled the sun on its own, we'd surely call it a planet without a second thought. It rolls slowly around Jupiter out there in the cold, wrapped in its own quiet mysteries, so far from home that the sun is just a bright and distant point in its sky. And there's another one, softer and darker, called Callisto, one of the oldest and most peaceful faces in the whole solar system. Its surface so ancient and so still that it has scarcely changed in billions of years. It just drifts there, patient and unhurried, keeping the great giant company the way it always has, turning gently in the dark at the very edge of the giant's soft glow. Let me tell you something lovely about Saturn too. One last soft thing about that beautiful ringed world. Saturn is enormous, the second grandest of all the giants. And yet for all its size, it's astonishingly light. So light and so full of soft swirling gas that if you could somehow find an ocean vast enough to hold it, Saturn would float. Just imagine that, a whole giant planet, rings and all, bobbing gently on the water like the lightest of corks, riding softly on the surface without sinking an inch. Of all the worlds in the solar system, it's the only one light enough to do such a thing, the only one that could rest so gently upon the water. There's something so soothing in that thought, isn't there? That even the biggest things can be soft and light, that even a giant can float, resting easy on the surface, held up without any effort at all, drifting quietly the way you're drifting now. Let me tell you something quiet about a little world called Ceres too, out in that soft belt between Mars and Jupiter where the rocky pieces gather. Ceres is the largest thing in all that gentle belt, round and calm and grand enough to be counted among the dwarf planets. A small round world, all its own, turning slowly among the scattered stones. And deep beneath its surface, we think, there may be water, gentle and cold and ancient, layers of ice, and perhaps even soft hidden pockets of it, tucked away out of sight. It's a quiet little place, hardly ever spoken of, just turning patiently out there in the middle of the belt, keeping its own slow time, going round and round the distant sun as it has for longer than there have been eyes to see it. A small round world, calm and untroubled, drifting among the scattered pebbles of the dark. Let me tell you something soothing about how the planets keep their distances too, because the spaces between them are wider and gentler than we ever quite managed to picture. When you see a drawing of the solar system, all the worlds are crowded together on the page, one close beside the next, a tidy little row. But out there in truth, they're spread across such enormous stretches of quiet dark that the drawings can't begin to hold it. If our own Earth were shrunk down to the size of a single small marble, the moon would be a tiny pebble resting a little more than a hand's width away, and the sun would be a great warm ball far off across the room. And the giants, Jupiter and Saturn, would be further still, out past the walls, out past the house, out across the fields, each one turning quietly in its own vast pocket of empty space, with nothing but soft dark between them for as far as you could ever walk. They keep such gentle distance from one another, these far worlds, never crowding, never jostling, each one drifting alone through its own wide, quiet stretch of night. And yet all of them held together, all the same, by the soft and patient pull of the sun. Let me tell you something tender about the many moons out there too, because the giants keep such crowds of them. We think of our own dear moon, just the one, that single gentle face turned toward us every night, and it feels like plenty, doesn't it? But out among the giants, there are moons beyond counting, little ones and great ones, some as grand as planets, and some no bigger than a soft floating mountain, some perfectly round, and some lumpy as a stone. Saturn alone has well over 100 of them, drifting in a great gentle swarm, and Jupiter keeps nearly as many. And every year we seem to find a few more tiny, quiet things that had been circling out there unnoticed all along. Just imagine all those little worlds, all those far companions turning softly in the dark, each one keeping its giant company, each one following its own slow path. A whole quiet gathering of moons out there in the cold, more of them than you could ever hope to name, all turning peacefully on and on while you lie here warm and still. Let me tell you something soft about the rings of the other giants too, because Saturn isn't quite as alone in its beauty as people think. We've spoken of how every one of the great giants keeps rings of its own, and it's true, though the others wear theirs so faintly and so gently that you'd hardly notice them at all. Jupiter has a soft, thin ring of the finest dust, so faint it went unseen for the longest time, just a whisper of a ring circling that enormous striped world. And Uranus has a set of narrow, dark rings, thin and quiet and shy. And Neptune keeps a few faint arcs of its own, soft, incomplete rings that gather thick in some places and thin away to almost nothing in others, like gentle brushstrokes that were never quite finished. None of them shine the way Saturn's do. None of them catch the far light so brightly, but they're there all the same, every giant wrapped in its own soft, quiet rings, turning patiently out there in the dark, each one wearing its own gentle circle of dust and ice. Let me tell you something calm about the deep, quiet cold of the far worlds too, because out where Neptune drifts, the cold is softer and deeper than anything we know down here, so very far from the warm sun, so terribly far. The little bit of sunlight that reaches those distant worlds is faint and thin, barely enough to warm a thing. Out there it's cold beyond all our winters, cold beyond the coldest place you could ever stand, so cold that the gases we breathe would settle quietly into ice, so cold that the whole world lies frozen and still and utterly at peace. And yet even in that deep, gentle cold, things keep turning, keep drifting, keep following their long, slow paths, unbothered, unhurried, in no distress at all. The cold out there isn't a harsh thing, not really, not from where you're lying. It's just a deep and patient stillness, a quiet that has settled over everything and held it soft and safe for billions of years. The way a heavy blanket of snow settles over a sleeping field and keeps it hushed until the morning. And let me leave you with one more gentle thought before we drift on a little further into the quiet. All of these far worlds, the named ones and the nameless ones, the giants and the little moons, and the icy travelers, and the small round dwarf worlds, turning at the edge of everything. All of them found their places long ago, and have kept to them faithfully ever since. Asking nothing, needing nothing, simply turning on. They keep their distances so gently. They carry their moons so patiently. They wear their soft rings and their pale colors and their long, slow seasons without any effort at all, drifting through the deep cold in perfect peace. And it's all still going on right now, this very moment, as you lie here warm and heavy and soft, sinking slowly down towards sleep. Comets are unfurling their long, bright tails somewhere far out in the dark, and Ganymede is rolling quietly around its giant, and a blue sunset is falling softly over the red sands of Mars, and the whole great family of worlds is drifting slowly through the stars together, in no hurry at all, going nowhere in particular, simply turning on, and on the way it always has. So there's nothing for you to hold on to now, nothing for you to carry, nothing at all for you to do. You can let it all go soft and loose, and let the far worlds keep on turning without you, out there in the peaceful dark, while you sink gently down into the warm and quiet, safe and still, carried easily onward toward the morning. Let me tell you something soft about the way the giant planets glow with a warmth all their own too, because it's a gentle thing to picture as you lie there sinking down. You might think a planet only ever gives back the little bit of warmth the sun sends its way. But the biggest of them, Jupiter and Saturn especially, are quietly warm from the inside, giving off more heat than they ever receive from that faraway fire. It isn't a fierce heat, nothing like a furnace, nothing to trouble you. It's just a slow, deep, patient warmth left over from the long ago days when they first gathered themselves together out of the dark. A warmth that's been leaking gently outward ever since, so slowly you could never notice it, spread out across billions of years. So out there in the deep cold, those great soft giants are each holding a little ember of their own beginning close to their hearts, glowing faintly in the dark, warm from the inside, the way a sleeping animal stays warm beneath its own thick fur through the coldest night. There's something wonderfully cozy in that, don't you think? These enormous worlds, so far from any comfort, keeping themselves gently warm all on their own, needing nothing, wanting nothing, just holding their quiet heat and turning on and on through the endless dark. Let me tell you something calm about the little world called Pluto and its slow, faithful year too, because time moves so gently out there that it hardly seems to move at all. You know how a single trip around the sun is what we call a year. And for us here at home, that year goes by in what feels sometimes like the blink of an eye. Spring turning to summer, turning to autumn, and back to winter again. Well, out where Pluto drifts, so terribly far from the warm middle of everything, one single year, one slow, patient loop around the sun, takes about 248 of our own years to complete. Just think of that, softly. Since the very first time anyone spotted Pluto through a telescope, that little world still hasn't finished even one lap around the sun. It won't finish for a long time yet, long after all of us, drifting so slowly and so calmly along its wide and gentle path that a single one of its seasons lasts longer than whole lifetimes down here. There's no rush out there, none at all. Pluto has all the time in the world, more time than we could ever picture, and it spends that time simply drifting, unhurried and untroubled, wrapped in its own deep, peaceful cold at the far quiet edge of things. Let me tell you something soothing about the way the moons of the giants shine too. Because when you're up close to those great worlds, the night sky is full of gentle companions. Imagine, just for a soft moment, that you were floating somewhere near Jupiter, wrapped safe and warm and watching. All around that enormous striped world, its big moons would be drifting slowly by, each one catching the faraway sunlight and giving back its own quiet glow. There'd be Io with its soft golden color, and Europa smooth and pale as a pearl, and great Ganymede rolling calmly along, and Callisto darker and older looking, all of them moving in their slow and patient circles, never colliding, never crowding, each keeping gently to its own lane the way boats drift on a calm harbor at evening. And every so often, one of them would slip quietly behind the giant and disappear into its shadow for a little while, only to come drifting softly out the other side, glowing again, keeping to the rhythm it's kept for billions of years. It's a peaceful sort of dance, unhurried and sure, and it's been going on all this long while, whether anyone was there to watch it or not. Out in the soft dark, quietly turning. Let me tell you something tender about the way a comet lets go of itself too, because there's a gentle sort of beauty hidden in it. When one of those icy little travelers comes drifting in from the far cold edges and swings slowly nearer to the warm sun, the gentle sunlight begins to loosen the ice it's carried frozen for so long. And little by little, the comet lets a soft trail of itself go streaming out behind, glowing faintly in the dark. And here's the tender part. Every time a comet passes close, it gives away a little more of itself, a little more of the dust and the ice it's held onto for all those millions of years, scattering it gently along the path it travels. So over the long, long ages, a comet slowly spends itself, softly and without complaint, leaving pieces of itself strewn all along its journey, like petals dropped one by one on a quiet walk. And those scattered bits drift on their own after that. And sometimes, long afterward, they brush ever so gently against a world like ours and flare for one soft, silent moment, high up in the night before they fade. There's nothing sad in it. Not really. It's just the way of things out there, gentle and slow. One traveler quietly giving itself back to the dark it came from, a little at a time, in no hurry at all. Let me tell you something calm about the far side of our own moon too, because there's a quiet mystery to it that I've always found soothing. You know how the moon shows us the very same familiar face every single night, the same soft patterns of light and shadow that people have gazed up at since the very beginning. Well, that means there's a whole other side of the moon that never once turns toward us, a far side that stays forever hidden from every window on Earth, that no eyes down here ever saw at all until we managed to send a little craft drifting around to peek at it. And it turns out that far side is gentler and more thickly freckled with soft old craters, quieter somehow, holding its own slow silence out there where we can't watch it. Just think of that. Softly. All those long ages, all those countless nights of people looking up, and half of our nearest companion was resting quietly out of sight the whole time, keeping its own peaceful face turned away toward the deep dark, patient and unbothered, showing itself to no one. It's still out there right now, that hidden half, turning slowly in the night exactly as it always has, calm and quiet, and utterly at ease with being unseen. Let me tell you something soft about how gently the planets were sorted into their places too, because the whole arrangement of them is kinder than you might think. Long, long ago, when everything was still young and the worlds were only beginning to gather themselves out of that great soft cloud. The warmth of the newborn sun spread its gentle influence outward. And it was that quiet warmth that decided, in a slow and easy way, which worlds would be which. Close in, where things were warmer, the little planets grew up small and rocky and firm. Worlds you could stand upon, worlds with solid ground beneath them. And further out, where the warmth faded and the deep cold settled in, the worlds grew up soft and enormous and gaseous instead. Great swirling giants gathering up all the light stuff that could only linger out there in the chill. So the whole family sorted itself out gently, all on its own. No hand guiding it, no plan laid down. Just the slow, patient warmth of the sun spreading outward, and each world settling naturally into the kind of world it was always going to be. The small, firm ones near the fire, the great soft ones out in the cold, each exactly where it belongs, each content to be just what it is, turning quietly on in the place it found for itself so very long ago. Let me tell you something soothing about the quiet patience of Venus, and its long, slow turning too, because it's one of the dreamiest facts I know. You remember how Venus spins so very slowly, turning backwards compared to nearly all the others. Well, it turns so slowly that a single one of its days, one full turn of the planet on itself, actually lasts longer than one of its whole years, longer than the time it takes to travel all the way around the sun. Just let that settle over you softly. On Venus, the day is longer than the year. Time hardly seems to move there at all, everything drifting round so gently, so unhurriedly, that the world barely turns while it drifts its slow way around the sun. There's no rushing sunrise, no quick tumble of day into night. Just a vast, slow, dreaming turn, so gradual you could never feel it, wrapped up there in its soft, thick clouds, drifting round and round in no hurry whatsoever. It's the slowest spinning world we know of, patient beyond all patience, taking its own sweet time about everything, utterly untroubled by how long anything takes. Let me tell you something gentle about the way sound simply can't travel out there between the worlds too, because it makes the deep dark a wonderfully peaceful place. Down here, sound reaches us through the air, little ripples passing from one tiny bit of air to the next, until they finally reach your ear. But out there in the great open spaces between the planets, where there's almost nothing at all, no air to carry a ripple along, sound has nothing to travel through, and so it simply can't. Out there, everything happens in perfect silence. The great giants turn without a whisper, the comets streak along without a sound. Whole storms wider than our Earth swirl on in absolute quiet, and the moons drift by one another, saying nothing at all. It's the deepest, softest quiet there could ever be. A silence so complete that even the loudest thing imaginable would make no sound whatsoever out in that vast open dark. And there's something restful in that thought, isn't there? As you lie here in your own quiet room, all that grand slow motion, all those turning worlds and streaming comets and swirling storms, all of it unfolding in the gentlest silence, hushed and calm and peaceful, going on without a single sound to trouble the deep quiet of the dark. Let me tell you something calm about how the light of distant things reaches us, softened and slow too, because it's a tender thing to hold in your mind as you drift. When you gaze up at one of the far planets glowing softly in the night, The light landing gently in your eyes left that world a good while ago, crossing all that empty dark at its own steady pace to finally arrive here with you tonight. So in a way, you're never quite seeing the far worlds as they are this very instant, but as they were a little while back, the light taking its patient time to reach you. And that means every glance up at the night sky is a soft look backward, a gentle bit of the past arriving quietly in the present, old light finally coming home. There's no hurry in it, no urgency at all. That light has been traveling calmly along for however long it needed, in no rush to get here. And now at last, it settles softly into your eyes as you lie here, warm beneath your blankets. A little gift of gentle old light delivered right to you across all that peaceful dark, asking nothing in return, simply arriving, simply glowing, simply keeping you quiet company as you sink slowly down toward sleep. Let me tell you something gentle about how the far worlds were named for the quietest of reasons too. Because there's a soft little comfort tucked away in it. Long, long ago, when people first looked up and noticed that a few of those lights wandered slowly against all the still ones behind them, they gave those wandering lights the names of their calmest, kindest old stories. They didn't rush to it. They watched, night after patient night, season after season, tracing those slow, soft paths across the sky. And only after a great long while did they settle on the gentle names we still whisper today. And so every time you look up now, you're using words that people chose in the hush of some ancient evening, sitting quietly under the very same stars, feeling the very same soft wonder you're feeling right now as you lie here warm and drowsy. There's a lovely thread running all the way back through all those quiet watchers, all those calm old nights, right down to this one, to you, resting here in the dark. And let me tell you something soothing about how little the far worlds ever really change too, because it's one of the most restful thoughts there is. Down here, everything shifts and moves, doesn't it? The seasons turn, the leaves come and go, the days fill up and empty out again. But out there, on those cold and distant worlds, whole ages pass with barely a ripple. A frozen plain on some far moon might look tonight almost exactly as it looked a million quiet years ago. And it'll look much the same a million years from now, long after tonight has softened into memory. Nothing hurries it, nothing disturbs it. It simply waits there in the gentle cold, keeping its slow and patient stillness, utterly unbothered by time. And there's something wonderfully calming in knowing that all that deep quiet is out there right now, holding perfectly still while you let yourself grow heavier and softer and closer to sleep. Let me tell you something tender about the way the whole sky seems to hold you too, as you lie here. All those worlds we've wandered past tonight, the warm bright sun and the little rocky ones huddled near it, the great striped giants with their rings and their crowds of moons, the pale ice giants drifting far out in the cold, little Pluto with its slow dancing heart, and that vast soft cloud of ice wrapped all the way around everything, like a blanket tucked in at the edges. All of it is turning gently around you this very moment, cradling this little world of ours, and cradling you along with it. You're not adrift out there in all that dark. You're held, softly and surely, part of the whole quiet turning family of it, carried along without having to lift a finger, without having to do a single thing but breathe and rest and let yourself be carried. I want to tell you something calm too, about how everything out there just keeps on going, all on its own, needing nothing at all from you. You know how sometimes it can feel as though the whole day rests on your shoulders, as though so many things need you, need holding up, need seeing to. Well, none of that reaches out there. The planets don't need you to keep them turning. The sun doesn't need you to keep it shining. The comets don't need you to remember their long looping paths. All of it simply goes on, patiently and quietly, whether you're watching or not, whether you're awake or fast asleep. And so you can lay all of it down now, every last little worry, every task, everything you've been carrying, because not one of them is holding the sky up. The sky's holding itself up just fine, and it always will. And it asks nothing of you tonight, but to rest. If these quiet little journeys through the stars have helped soften the edges of your night even a little, there's a gentle thing you can do whenever you feel like it. No rush at all. If you'd let this next one begin playing on its own, just drift right into it without stirring, without reaching for anything. I'll be here again, waiting in the quiet, ready to carry you a little further out among the calm and distant worlds. You don't have to lift a hand, just let it flow gently on from here, one soft story sliding into the next, and let my voice keep you company all the way down into sleep. And let me tell you one more soft thing about how the light of the very oldest stars is still traveling toward us even now, gentle and unhurried, crossing all that peaceful dark. Some of those faint little points you might catch at the very edge of your vision left their stars so unimaginably long ago that whole ages of the world have come and gone while they've been quietly on their way. They've been traveling all this time, in no hurry whatsoever, drifting patiently across the deep. And only tonight, at last, do the very last of them settle softly into the sky above you. It's the calmest kind of arrival there could ever be. Light that's been journeying since before there were eyes to catch it, finally coming to rest just as you're closing your own eyes for the night, keeping you the gentlest, quietest company as you sink down. Let me tell you something soothing about how forgiving the dark really is out there too. There's no edge to it, no wall you'd ever bump against, no place where it suddenly stops. It just goes softly on and on, room enough for every world and every moon, and every drifting speck of ice, room enough and more, with never any crowding, never any rush, never any sense that there isn't space to spare. Everything out there has all the room it could ever want, all the time it could ever need, floating along at its own slow pace with the softest of company all around. And you have that too, right now, all the room and all the time in the world, nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to reach, just this warm, soft place to rest in, and all the gentle dark wrapped kindly around you. And if you'd like to wander out among these quiet worlds again some other night, you'd be so welcome to stay a while, to follow along in the soft and drowsy way we've done tonight. There's no hurry to decide, nothing to sort out now. Just know that the door's always open here in the quiet, that there'll always be another calm little journey waiting whenever you need one, another gentle voice in the dark to help you drift off. And if you'd like to be sure of finding your way back, you can quietly let this place know you'd like to return, so it'll gently point you here again the next time sleep feels far away. But that's for another day. For now, there's nothing at all to do. Let me leave you with the softest thought of all then, as everything grows still. Out there, right now, while you rest here so warm and so heavy, the whole great gentle family of worlds is turning quietly on. The sun is holding them all in its soft invisible arms, the little rocky ones drifting close and warm, the great giants wheeling slowly through the cold, with their rings shimmering and their moons keeping faithful company. The pale ice worlds drifting far and patient at the edge, and all around it, that vast soft shell of ice, like the gentlest blanket wrapped around everything there is. None of it is hurrying. None of it is worried. None of it needs a single thing from anyone. It's all just turning, slowly and peacefully, exactly as it has for longer than we can hold in our minds, and exactly as it will go on doing long after tonight has melted softly away. And you're part of all that gentleness, resting here, made of the very same quiet stardust, held by the very same soft and patient pull, drifting along with all of it, through the calm and endless dark. There's nowhere you have to go. There's nothing you have to carry. There's not one thing left to do tonight, but let yourself grow heavier and softer and warmer, sinking down and down into the quiet, while all those distant worlds keep turning slowly on, watching over you without a sound, asking nothing, needing nothing, simply keeping you the gentlest company as you slip at last, softly and easily, all the way down into sleep. Rest now. Let it all go quiet. Let the dark be soft and kind around you, and let those far worlds turn on without you, patient and peaceful, all through the long, still night. You've done enough. You've carried enough. Now it's time only to rest, warm and safe and gently held, drifting slowly off beneath the calm and distant stars. Sleep well. Sleep deep. Sleep soft and easy, all the way through till morning. Good night.